Hello everybody and welcome into my latest live video. Joining me, as always, the man, the myth,
the Toto Man,
the Mr. Mitch Morthan.
Happy New Year here.
My eye.
That doesn't make a noise. People are
How long have you been playing that?
That are wearing headphones. Happy New Year, the first.
Hey, yeah. we're in 2021. Is it 21?
Yeah,
we can drink now.
There you go. I'm still drunk from last night. Just kidding.
So nothing's changed.
Nothing's changed. So,
well,
yeah, we got a great build today.
He's been mitching at me about building
something smaller. Yeah, I mean, you could fit that on a desk. I mean, most people wouldn't, but I mean, if you had a big enough desk, this one I like too. So,
well, that's the little. They're both mini ITX, right? So you sort of have your full size ATX motherboards, micro ATX, then you go mini ITX, and then below that you have like the small Nook style.
Right.
And the smaller you get, the less you can do. Like these only have one PCI Express slot. In fact, if I turn this case around, this is the NZXT H210. You'll see it's got two slots, but that's for a double wide graphics card. Mm-hmm. And we actually don't have, we're not building this for anybody. This is just something to do.
Yeah, something.
And we're going to pair this, and again, all the parts are in the video description below this video, but we're using an Asus ROG Strix B460-I motherboard. I've got this is a 10700K that I originally put in the Cougar Conquer case, and then I bumped it to an 850. So did I put an 850? Yeah, put an 850K in there. So this is the older, I think I used this for 20 minutes. It's basically brand new. We've got a 2 terabyte XPG SX8100 M.2 NVMe from ADATA.
Ooh,
We've got 32 gigs. 32 gigs is the new 16.
Okay.
Of Team T-Force Vulcan Z RAM. There's 2 sticks of 16, running at I think 3200 megahertz. And for a power supply, we've got an EVGA, just a generic 550 watt. What I like about this case is there's a small adapter or frame right here, so we don't have to use a small form factor power supply like we do in the smaller case like that. And the small form factor power supplies are fewer to choose from. They're pretty pricey, and they don't go up in wattage as much as the full-size ATX power supply. So I like that about this case. And for a cooler, I've got the Noctua NH210 It's all in black. So this isn't going to be all RGB'd out or anything. It's going to have a nice clean look. And one of the things that bothers me about this case, I'll tell you right now, is there's a fan up here. And this fan sucks air down and into the case, and then the fan in the back blows air out. And I have found that this fan really gets in the way of trying to install any large cooler or doing any cabling up against the top of the motherboard, because these little mini ITX boards, a lot of connectors go across the top of the board. And we'll cover that a little bit later. But I'm debating whether or not I'm going to pull this fan out. The other thing I don't like about this fan is, combined with this rear fan, this case is pretty loud. Like, you can barely hear this computer.
Right.
This one, you know when this is on. This is louder than a full-size AT 200R. The 200Rs I build are dead silent. When this thing's on, you know it's on. And that's a little disappointing to me. The only other thing I don't like is up here on the top of the NZXT H210 is it's got a full-size USB 3.0 and then a Type-C.
Okay.
Like, I have almost nothing that uses Type-C. I would rather have 2 full-size USB 3.0s or 3.2s or whatever they are. And then there's no microphone input, there's just a headphone output. So again, it's limited. You can't put an optical drive in here, but that's true of pretty much all mini ITX cases.
Well, and this little guy, the reason I like it too is it's supporting
it does have the optical drive.
The optical drive, because, you know, I'm so old, I'm still using a Netflix. Them sending me discs. So, you know, you remember that? All right, yeah. So I like.
Do they still do that?
Yeah, they still do.
I wasn't aware that they still did that. Okay,
but before we get started, how's our sound, chat? Is everyone, you know,
how's everything looking sound?
You know,
Thank you to Peter Laycock in the chat room, just contributed 50 pounds. Peter watches us from
England, right?
Scotland.
Scotland.
And it's always good to see Peter. Welcome in, Peter. Good to see you, my friend. And he's been very generous and very supportive community member, and definitely deserves a shout out. And
people are saying the sound is good.
Oh,
good.
You know what I got?
Oh.
Check this out. Be Quiet sent me a holiday package. I think the sweater's a little bit big for me.
Yeah, you think?
You think it'll fit you?
Let me flex a little.
It's got computer cases and fans on it.
Ooh.
Dun, 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 dun,
Let's get a nice close up. All right.
Yeah, look at that. Just like Grandma would knit.
Ah.
Now, if that's not enough to bring you into the holiday spirit, Be Quiet also sent me a Christmas ornament for the tree that looks like a cooling fan. If it will focus, will it focus?
Does it have the year on it, 2020?
No, it does not. It does not appear to. Trying to get the camera to focus on it. Rick Legs just contributed $30. Hey, Rick, thank you for that. And let's see, I got a card. They sent me a card.
Mm-hmm.
I'll just share the card here. It says, Dear Santa, for Christmas this year, I want a Shadow Rock 3, a Dark Rock Pro 12, a Pure Loop, and a Silent Bass 802. And if we open it up, there's a nice little holiday message in there in a couple different languages. It's very kind of Be Quiet.
Yeah.
I've been pretty hard on their products, you know, and they're just killing me with kindness over here.
Somebody wants to know, what case is this again? It's an
M case N1.
Do they still
N case, letter N like Nancy, N case.
Do they still make them?
They're custom, and yes, you go to ncase.com or search my channel and you'll see the build video for that computer.
Okay.
And then Be Quiet sent me one thing I'm absolutely in love with in the little holiday package they sent. Check this out. I'll come over here to show everybody. This is you know, for unboxings you need a knife, right? So they sent this really nice pocket knife. Once again, I've got to get the camera to focus. There it is. And then if we open it up,
great for shaving or playing mumbly peg, you know what I mean? You remember that.
Yeah, put your hand down on the table.
Ooh, very nice.
Yeah, that's really cool. This I was not expecting. Well, I wasn't expecting any of it, to be honest, but
Yeah.
but the sweater's too big and I don't have a Christmas tree, so I can't hang the ornament. But this I will definitely use. In fact, do me a favor, put it in the drawer right in front of you so I don't forget about it. My thanks over to Email and the other folks over at Be Quiet for all of their help last year, and we'll look forward to looking at some other products they have later in the year. And yeah, that was really completely unexpected. So
we hope everyone had a safe and happy holiday season, and it's the new year. And
absolutely.
With any luck, my band Toto will get back to touring, and maybe I can work for him instead of you, you know?
I'm way more fun.
So be a roadie or something.
I'm less
like that,
repetitive.
Since I'm their biggest fan anyway. So.
When you say biggest, you're referring to your height or
no
age?
Age, probably.
No, they are a good band. I do like Toto, 99, Rosanna, Africa, Hold the Line. That's pretty much it.
Pamela, yeah.
Hello, everybody in the chat room. Welcome in, everybody. And what do we? How many people do we have watching? Should we get started? Do we have enough people 326, kind of low. We should have like 3 times that amount of people.
You know, everyone's nursing a hangover except you. You know.
Well, I'm gonna start drinking.
Okay.
I think somebody put something in my Coke.
Yeah, there's a little Captain Jack in that probably. All right. So
Hugh Wong says Happy New Year. Hey, Happy New Year to you. And Matt Powers, Solo, Joseph Neal, and it's too far away. Marco, Darren Gilholm, Michael Mancini,
the gang's
Super
all here.
Marula.
Yeah.
Well, what do you think? Should we?
Yeah. Now, that's onboard graphics, right? On that chip, or are you going to put one in?
I mean, I could put a graphics card in, but I'm only putting a 550 watt power supply in here, just a cheap $50 power supply. So my thought is, because this thing is so loud, my thought is if I don't put the graphics card in, I won't need to hook up this fan. In fact, we probably just take it out altogether.
Yeah.
And while you absolutely could add a graphics card to this, in fact, if it was a 1660 or something, the 550 is probably enough.
But this has graphics on it.
It has built-in graphics on the CPU, but if you wanted to turn this into a gaming rig and throw a 30 series RTX card in there, or AMD card, you certainly could if you wanted to. Just bump up the power supply. Right. But there's only room for one card. That's it. So whatever card it's going to be, that's what you're going to get. That's why all the Mini ITX boards come with Wi-Fi, every one of them, because you can't add Wi-Fi except perhaps through USB.
Yeah.
But again, it's pretty much going to be the same build that we always do, with a little tighter tolerances. Parts are a little shrunken down. Same RAM, same CPU, same cooler, same M.2 NVMe. The motherboard's a little smaller, and the power supply will be standard. Like I said, this little adapter in the back will come out, so we can use a full-size power supply.
We'll get you some nice close-ups, Chad.
Yeah, and I realize it's looking a little dark right now, but we'll
pull out the
with the close-ups that should
the Mitch cam, and we'll
or you'll do it and we'll pull out the carry cam. I don't know. We'll figure it out.
Yeah. Or I'll hijack the stream and let Uncle Kerry do the little camera. But yeah,
these cases are only like $80.
Ooh, okay.
I think it's a pretty good deal for $80. And it's not overly flashy. Like, I could do without the glass, but at least there's no RGB on it. So, coming from the day when you were just happy to have a computer, when you took every penny you had just to get something, computer, the idea of spending even more for something you don't need just wasn't raised with that kind of money. So I don't see a lot of value in it, but I do build some RGB builds just because there's a part of the community that likes that. But me personally, I do like that Cougar case, which is an exception, and it's really stupid and unnecessary. But that would be the exact opposite of this, because it's about 3 times bigger and full of lights.
So what are you thinking? Should we take both sides off, or just the glass? Or
so the glass comes off pretty interestingly.
Stop using big words. All right, so interestingly. Okay.
Why is abbreviated such a long word? Come on, that's funny. Aren't you a comedian?
Yeah.
You don't know a joke when you hear one?
Yeah.
Ooh! You gotta watch that drawer.
I gotta watch that drawer, kids. All right.
So I'm gonna just step over here just to give people an idea. This is a little unusual in how this glass comes off. There's just this one little thumb screw right here. And when I remove it, it won't fall out. It stays captured. I'm gonna push it. There's a handle here. I want to push it towards you, if I recall correctly. Or do I pull it back towards me? Hold on. I'm missing something. Pretty sure I had to go this way with it. Did I pull it back? Did I not take the screw all the way out? So the screws, I believe, stays captured. It doesn't come out, which is good.
Yeah, you believe.
And then I think just, it's been a while since I've done this, and I thought that's all I had to do. I think what happened, right here they've got a serial number. Oh no, that's not doing it. Something else is holding this in. What is it? What am I missing? It should just go, it should pull out this way.
Yeah, try not to slash your wrist, all right?
I'm missing something, so I'm going to come back to that in a minute.
Yeah.
Never mind. And we'll go over to this side.
Unscripted, folks. That's what. Yeah.
Or that, or we're firing the scriptwriter. Scriptwriter's gone. All right, so this side, see how that's coming off by pulling it out this way. It's beveled edges seat in, and then these would go on. So that's our side panel on the, what is that? That's your right side if you're looking at it head on. And I'll set that down here. Now the glass side should come off exactly the same way, except there's just one screw. And I just want to double check everything. I don't know why it's not coming out. I seem to be missing something.
Yeah, safety glasses. All right.
Well, safety in general.
Yeah. So you don't mind if I step back? Because this could go ugly.
What am I missing?
Here, let me use a sound effect. How's that sound? All right.
I'm definitely missing something. Don't make me pull the manual out. I mean, it's pretty bad if you can't figure out how to get the covers off. You're not probably in the best.
Well, I must say, this is a great way to start the first build of the new year.
I don't know why it's sticking. I don't recall this happening before. I'm wondering if I'm rushing it and I'm missing something basic. See, the glass only has this one piece holding it in. That's all there is.
Somebody says, take the screw out fully or it won't come out.
The screw doesn't come out fully. I mean, it's captured.
Okay.
But, I mean, even captured screws can come out. But they're not supposed to have to. See, I can sit there and spin that all day. It's clearly out.
Yeah.
But I don't know why it's in there so tight. Something's... Now I remember.
Okay.
On the top of the glass, there are these metal nubs. You see here and here. And you'll also have them down on the bottom. Oh, no, you don't. We've got these metal tabs. So the metal tabs are going to fit into these. There's two little slots here like this. And then you're going to lift up the glass when we're putting this back together. And it's going to snap in like that.
Ah.
And then the screw's kind of in the way
Okay.
at this point. So the screw's got to be backed out a little bit.
Matt Power says my heart stopped.
Yeah, mine too. I forgot about that.
Yeah, if you had one. All right, so.
Oh, look, I was able to get that screw completely backed out. All right, so you can see it clicks into place. We pull it
with the nubs. Yeah.
Yeah. So you've got metal tabs that go into the slots, like that. Sometimes case panels they slide on. These go into a slot and then they lift completely forward and snap in. And then you would use what should be a captured screw. You shouldn't have to take this out. And then that would just be tightened down, and it's just the one screw that holds that whole side in.
Okay. So
just so you know, when we get back to that, I forgot. I thought that just the one screw was holding the glass. I forgot it had those little metal, and those are metal, not plastic. I don't know what you want to call those. They're like cabinetry. Forget what you call it.
Don't hurt yourself. All right.
Yeah. Do you smell something burning, or is that just me thinking?
Yeah. Smoke will be coming out of his eyes, or out of his ears soon, folks. Ooh, we got to get rid of this little box. Okay, of parts.
Yep, so that's going to have all the hardware we require for mounting the motherboard and whatnot. And then I'm going to put this little captured screw back in by just tightening it. And you'll see it just stays in there. won't go anywhere, so you don't have to worry about losing it. Chris Kingan contributes $20. He says, Happy New Year, Carrie and Mitch.
What a guy. What a guy.
I like how he put my name first.
Yeah, that bothers me. All right. So here's our parts.
What's in there?
Parts.
No.
It's like Christmas all over again. All right, let's see.
How was your Christmas?
Ooh, I was up in my brother's in Vail, Colorado.
Vail, Colorado.
Right. Very nice, very cold. So drove up for a couple
Are there many homeless in Vail, Colorado?
No, too cold at night.
No, I just think it's like a very expensive place. How much money?
It's a bit snuffy. Yeah, my brother's got a 10-bedroom house, so it's
a 10-bedroom house
it's
in
tough.
Vail, Colorado.
It's tough living. All right, so
do you need another brother?
Yeah. So we have Carrie's favorite, the manual.
Yeah.
No, all right, I'll let you do that.
This can go
some wire
right
ties.
there.
Yeah, there's 3D, and
oh wait, I need that.
yeah.
So this is going to have. Oh, this is a breakout cable that I guess will give you microphone and headphone from the front with an adapter. I don't know why they just didn't give it to me that way to begin with. And NZXT, on their front panel umbilicals, it's just one plug that fits onto the motherboard. Can you imagine? Your power switch, your reset switch, your hard drive LED, and your power LED are already in one connector that fits most motherboards. But there are some motherboards that they won't fit on, and for that reason, they give you a little breakout adapter if you need it. But we won't use that.
Isn't that amazing?
Yeah,
All right.
NZXT, as far as I know, is the only case maker that I've experienced that does that. We've got screws and we've got zip ties, and that's all part of what comes with the case. I think the first thing we should do is put the power supply in.
Yeah.
One real quick glance at the case before we get started, now that I'm thinking about it. This red piece here, this can come out if it's getting in your way. There's a screw here and a screw here, and I think there's one back here. And then this whole red piece kind of goes out on an angle, and you can take it out. Up in the front, we've got a filter for additional fans. And if you just grab the front of the case, there's a little, if you look under there, there's a handle right underneath that. And if you grab that and pull on it, see, that's what that looks like. And then we've got these filters, and you can add fans to this. And this filter is isn't it magnetic? Oh no, it's not magnetic. It's got little nubbins. It's got little tabs on it. You squeeze them. And then this is where you would mount fans to bring air into the case if you wanted to, if the case wasn't loud enough and you wanted to add some
those
more fans.
120s?
Those look to be, looks like you can do 120s or 140s because you've got this area here and then that area there.
A couple of 140s, you'd be getting some flow there.
Big time, big time. And then just to plug that back in, we just push it in. I was thinking it was magnetic, but it's not magnetic. The problem is if you do this, right, if you add those fans, you better remember to clean this filter from time to time or you will suffocate it. So let's just leave that off for now. And in fact, let's leave this off too so people can fully see everything we're doing while we're building.
Take a look, see, Uncle Kerry, another contribution.
Solo contributes $20, says, Happy New Year, Mitch and Carrie, since Mitch is sensitive about being first.
Yes!
Well, thank you, Solo, and I'll forgive you this time.
Yeah.
So to add fans to this, what you would do is you would take out these 4 screws. Once again, that's the screwdriver's clutch. You would take out these 4 screws. So you don't have to work in the confines of the case. You just take the whole frame out and attach your fans and then just put it right back on. It makes it so much easier to do. I'm going to leave all this off so everybody can get a nice view of what's going on inside the case. And then, as you can see, we've got this area for the power supply. And then we've got, if we come around here, this area right here is for one card. So if you're going to use a GPU and it's a double thickness GPU, that will accommodate. And then up at the top, we've got another fan, and this fan has a filter on top. If you're curious which direction the air is going, we don't filter air that's going out of the case. We only filter air that's coming in. So if you see a filter in front of a fan, that fan should be drawing air in. And if you see a filter in front of a fan that's blowing air out, somebody screwed up. But you can fix it. Now, finally, we've got a rear case fan here. No filter because it's blowing air out. Like I said before, this fan I find gets in the way, so I think I just want to take it out. So up here, we're going to take out these typical 4 fan screws. And Mitch is already thinking ahead that that thing's going to fall straight down, and he's right. As soon as we take out this last screw, and you'll see above it, there's a small metal filter. And the reason it's having a difficult time coming out is we've got these cable management tracks, which is also a nice touch. And if you don't like these are screwed in and you can remove them. Though why anybody would want to do that is beyond me. And then we want to take out all the wire ties here that are used to hold the front port umbilicals and fan cables in for shipping. Just get those out. And you can go ahead and pull that fan out.
Because remember, chat, I'm Carrie's biggest fan.
Where's the filter? There's no filter?
No.
Huh. That's interesting. The reason I'm expecting a filter is I built one of these off camera because I was rusty and I wanted to make sure I knew how to do it. And this fan really got in my way on a lot of the process, so I was glad I didn't film it. And I said, okay, I'll get another one and I'm ready to film now. And this one doesn't have the filter. And that filter was a real bear to put back in too. Because basically it was a very thin piece of metal. And you had to sort of align it with the mounting holes in the top of the case and the mounting holes of the fan. And when you have all the components here, it was very difficult to get everything to align. And then as I mentioned, because of the thickness of the fan, a lot of the connectors that we need to reach to other fan connectors and headers on the board are up on the top on a Mini ITX. So I wish NZXT could have done one of two things to resolve this. One would be to make the case a little bit taller, but then, you know, it's already a pretty big case. But they could have gone another 1/2 inch, 3/4 inch, and that would have given us the room. Or remove the fan altogether. The other problem with the fan being up here is I tend to put stuff on top of my computer case, which suffocates that fan. So if I have the motherboard box with all the parts and I want to keep the motherboard box with the case, I have completely 100% suffocated that fan. So I don't like fans on top of the computer case for that reason. Unless, now you see on the front, do you see these holes? Those holes are there because our front, if you recall, is solid. So where does the air come in? The air, if you were to put fans here, they would draw air in from the sides. Well, they could have done that across the top, lifted the top up, put the fan under there so that the fan didn't interfere with anything. And then if I put stuff on top, it doesn't suffocate the fan because it would be drawing air in off the sides. So there's a few suggestions for improvement for NZXT, who I know doesn't watch my videos. So I'm sure they'll get that message. What do we do with the fan? Oh, it's over here. We'll put the
right
screws.
Here.
No, this fan right here.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, what else do we have on this case? We've got what appears to be right here. This is pretty interesting. You see this? This is for mounting a 3.5 inch drive, like a SATA SSD. And that's a pretty simple little piece, which we are not going to use, so I'm going to take it out.
You said 3.5. It's a 2.5.
2.5 inch. Thank you. See, this is why you're here.
Yeah.
Keep me honest. See that?
Yeah.
So that'll go over here. With the rest of the parts we're not going to use on today's build. I like M.2 drives, and that's what we're going to use. The all Mini ITX motherboards use 4 screws to mount the boards universally, 1 in each corner, so the standoffs are already pre-installed into the proper place. And finally on the back, right here, you'll see we've got a space for 2 more 2.5 inch drives. Well, that's pretty impressive. You can have 3 2.5-inch drives. The reason I'm removing all of this is to reduce the weight and also to simplify the build process. As you can see here, they've got these plastic tracks to run cables right through here, which even includes a Velcro zip tie. And then we've got these cables here, which are our front port umbilicals. And what you can do, first of all, always replace these wire ties with nylon zip ties when you're done with your build. Those are going to go right in the first drawer on your left. I save them.
Wow, that's a lot of ties. All right.
Yeah, but I use them when I do cable management. I use them like a beret. I use them to hold the cables out of the way so I can work on other cables. And then anyway, so I don't waste zip ties because that's how cheap I am. Now, you see, just to give you an example, if we wanted to run these cables through here, which I'm not going to do now, but that's kind of how that will work. You just can, well, actually, you could do it one of a couple of different ways. We can pull this out like this, and then put the cables underneath, and then run it back, and then right onto itself. And then you've got your built-in cable management right there. And then there are slots for other Velcro zip ties or nylon zip ties. Kevin Arsenault contributes 20 Canadian dollars. Hey, Kevin, thank you so much. I think that covers every bell, whistle, and feature on the case. There's some slots down here for something. I don't know what they're for. Looks like something optionally goes down here, maybe to add more drives. But this isn't a file storage server, you know, so for me, building a Mini ITX build is putting in, say, a 1 terabyte or a 2 terabyte NVMe drive, and if a graphics card, if you're going to use it for gaming. And the Mini ITX boards generally allow for 1 M.2. There are some that will allow for 2 M.2s, but you can get M.2 drives now up to 8 terabytes. In fact, Sabrent's 8 terabyte M.2 is $1,299. And if you look on the floor to your left, there's a little tiny box right further back towards back up. You see that box? That's the one. What does that say?
I can't read.
Can't read it. Maybe they can read it.
Okay.
So this is a 4 terabyte Sabrent drive. This is $600 currently. Sabrent sent me one of these for free to test, which I'm running on my home system. And I'm not home. I haven't been home. And this is actually going to go on the laptop. But I bought this one in case anybody thinks, if I tell you I like the drive, you're like, well, of course you like it. They gave it to you for free. Well, if it was free and it was slow, or it was giving me grief, or it failed or prematurely, I assure you, I wouldn't have spent my own hard-earned money to buy one. So I put my money where my mouth is, and it's good enough for me to buy another one. That's how much I like it. So if you would put that back, I'd appreciate it. But for today, we're going to use the more budget-oriented XPG 8100. Now, these sell for about $250, which is a pretty good price for a 2 terabyte NVMe drive that performs like this, except that the Samsung 970 EVO Plus was selling for $250 on Amazon. And you guys, I told you guys about it, and you guys bought nearly 100 of them. Today, I think that drive is $310.
Ooh.
So anybody who bought one, any of you 100 or so folks who bought one, the drive you bought is now worth $60 more than you paid. And if you live in a state with sales tax, you can add another, $6 onto that. So not all technology goes obsolete overnight, or that you lose money on. It was a heck of a deal. And I'm thinking they're blowing those 970s out because the 980s are out, but I don't think there's a 2 terabyte 980 yet. And the performance difference isn't that great. So if it goes back on sale for $250, I'll let you know. But when I bought this, the Samsung 970 EVO Plus was $400. It's normally $399.99. So at $310, it's still a good deal compared to what the MSRP was. But during March, April, when the pandemic was hitting, that drive was going for $449, even though the MSRP was $399. That's a significant difference to go from $249.99 to $449.99 for the exact same part. So that when I saw this one for $250, I said that's a good deal for the performance you get. It's not as fast. It doesn't have the Samsung utility, but it's a good drive. I've had really good luck with them. And it's been sitting on a shelf for a few months, which is why I'm not using the Samsung 970 Plus. But it is 2 terabytes, which should be way more than we need for a build like this.
Okay.
And then again, for the RAM, the T-Force, Vulkan, and it's going to color match. See how that's red? So we're color matching here. That was done with intent, and the drive is black. So we've got a red and black thing going on here. 2 of my favorite colors, red and black. Even my screwdriver, red and black. Look at that. It's almost like they go together. Any questions?
If you don't start this build, you're going to be black and blue, not red and black. So let's get going.
Maybe you need to start the build, Mr.
Okay. Is this
Just those 2 boxes.
Yeah,
so the Noctua cooler and the power supply are right there.
Let's do the power supply first.
He's bossy today.
Yeah. 3D. All right.
So that's one of the cheapest power supply. That was the cheapest good power supply I could find. Those are $50. And if you're not running a graphics card or you have sort of a low-end graphics card,
I'm going to give you the honor of
using the Be Quiet knife for the first time.
For the first time, I was mighty tempted, but there you go.
It's smooth. It's buttery
and sharp. You could shave with that.
Doesn't feel right to not unbox a Be Quiet product with the Be Quiet knife. Do I need an EVGA knife and an Asus knife? That was really nice. I mean, I just didn't expect this at all. I really like this. This is, when I get my studio set up, this will be one of the things that sits on the,
there you go,
on the background. Because I don't want to ruin it. Mm-hmm. When you have something nice, well, I have something nice, I won't use it.
Okay.
Jeremy wants to know what this build is for. Just because.
Yeah.
No reason.
Yeah. Do me a
Anybody
favor.
wants to buy it.
Do me a favor. Stick that over your head. Okay. All right. So, just kidding.
Will this keep me fresh?
Yeah. Expiration
Don't try this at home.
Yeah. Kids. Yeah.
I'm a professional stunt bagger.
Oh, is there another? Oh, yeah. There is another blade thing here. Steady now. It's pointed towards me. Okay. All right. I'll take that back now. All right.
We're not going to have the scissors incident again.
Yeah.
Documentation.
Just like Christmas again. All right. Ooh.
It's starting to feel like Hanukkah. Aren't there like 8 presents here? You gonna light some candles? Did you get the screws?
Oh yeah, look at that. They're hidden.
This is why I pointed it out.
Yeah.
People, don't be too anxious to throw away your boxes until you make sure.
Because you never know.
You may not know if you've got everything until you put everything together, and if something ain't there,
and then
like in the box you throw it.
And then like Carrie, you'd have a screw loose.
Or you're digging through the garbage and trying to explain to the neighbors that you're not looking for food.
That's true.
But a screw, and then they just look at you funny after that. So, all right. We don't have to use the screws that come with the power supply. However, they do match the color. And of course, the screws that come with the case also match the color. So either way, 6 of one, half dozen of the other, you'll have some extra screws.
Should we give them a close-up as you're putting that in? Because again,
well, do you want to do it?
That's kind of unique.
Do you want to do it and I'll hold the camera, or?
Let me get my arms prepped here.
Come on, Papa. You need some spinach?
Welcome to the gun show. All right. So,
you want to arm wrestle?
Let's see. Not with you. All right.
Damn right. I'm not even in the...
Let's see.
You want me to film it?
You turn this on. You open that up.
You're going to open the lens cover.
And then it's got a power doodad right there. Okay.
All right. And then let me switch over to camera 2. You want to film? I mean, I'm happy to film.
No. I'll give you the glory for now.
Scott McFarland contributes $4.99. He says, "Hey guys, I hope your holiday was great, and I'm wishing you a happy New Year." Very nice. Thank you, Scott.
The stuff on the screen here won't be on the screen. You know, this
The
stuff,
funk?
This stuff, the functions.
Oh, the functions.
And stuff.
I thought it was just the funk.
You take that off.
There shouldn't be any
don't you,
funk
when
on
you
the
cut-
screen.
When you cut to the second camera.
Well, I don't know. Let's find out. Let's go to camera 2 and see if the funk is on the screen. Funk. Here we go. Whoa! There's no funk on the screen. How about we not get all the crap on the floor?
Okay. All right. Sorry.
I told you this is a temporary location. Don't judge me.
Okay.
Wow, my hair does not look good today. Where's hair and makeup? Hair and makeup!
Here. Let's show them this neat, very neat. Explain that. See, that can explain that now. That can fit.
This is a little frame. Do you see there's screws here? So this is originally intended with Mini ITX builds for a SFF or small form factor power supply. Dennis wants to know, is that a bald spot? Is he referring to you or me? They're probably referring to me.
Yeah, I'm Hair Club for Men. All right, so
Hair Club for Men. It wasn't a bald spot, but now that you're stressing me out, it's becoming one. Okay, so
that's from answering the chat. All right,
yeah, that's what happens. So if we kind of turn this on an angle a little bit, you can kind of get an idea of how this adapter works. This is my favorite part of this case and why I like the NZXT 210, is this right here.
And the little power supplies, what's the most watts that you can probably get out of one of those? 400 maybe? Or
no, I think I've seen them up to about 700,
Really? In that small form factor?
Yeah, and they might make them bigger, but I don't know where you can find them. In fact, your selection, when you go to buy a small form factor power supply, you don't have much selection to choose from. There aren't as many to choose from, and therefore the pricing isn't as aggressive.
Yeah.
So you're going to pay a bit more for it most of the time. Silverstone makes good small form factor power supplies. What was the other one I used? I think EVGA's got one or two.
Okay.
But Silverstone has been sort of my go-to for the small form factor power supplies. But I prefer to use just the regular desktop power supplies. And if it means my case has to be a little bit bigger, I much prefer that than, you know, if you come back over here and take a look, come around this side. We can take another look at that N-Case M1 from...
Look at this special effects chat.
You'll see I've got that noctual fan in there and that RGB RAM inside that everybody can admire. This is version 1 of the N-Case. You can see it says N-Case right at the bottom there, the N-Case M1. And I've got version 6 sitting at home, which looks nearly identical, but they've done some tweaks to it. And that will eventually get to that build as well. But that's basically going to use the same parts. It's just you can see how much smaller that case is.
Yeah.
They're both considered Mini ITX form factors.
And there's the optical drive, which...
Yeah, it's a slot-driven optical drive.
Uncle Mitch likes. So, yeah.
Let's see. Mark Stevens contributes $20. He says, Happy New Year. Hey, Mark, thank you.
But these are custom-made cases. This one right here. Yeah.
They're designed, they're community designed.
Okay.
What do you call that? Or like a Kickstarter? Not a Kickstarter. Anyway, Leon Lee actually makes the case. But what you do when you go to ncase.com or ncases.com, you might have to put on a waiting list, and they'll say, okay, we have to get a certain minimum amount in order to place an order, because it all gets manufactured overseas and has to be shipped over. So you say, put your email address in and say, hey, alert me when they're available to order. They're a little over $200, and then you'll wait 4 to 6 weeks typically. Actually, when I put my email address in to say, alert me when you're going to do another order, it was within 2 or 3 days. They said, okay, we're ready to take orders. And then it was within 4 to 6 weeks after that that the case did arrive. This is something you really need to plan ahead for. And if you want something truly unique, this is by far one of the easiest, if not the easiest, Mini ITX build I've ever done, because the whole case just snaps apart. And you don't have to use the optical drive. That's an option. You can get it with or without that slot. And you can see on the side here, we've got a built date. If you guys want to look at my YouTube channel, you can pull this video up. This is the date, I guess we did it. That's already 2 years old. That's running a Ryzen, what did I put in this? A Ryzen 2400G, because I had to have built-in graphics, because if you look back here, there's only a spot for one card, and that's the capture card. I can't put a graphics card in there, so I have to run onboard graphics. And it's got just 16 gigs of RAM. Because we're running onboard graphics, it says 13.9 gig usable. You can turn the camera, this should be fun, turn the camera at the screen so they can see the specs.
So that's the streamer that we're streaming?
Yeah, that's what we're using right now to stream.
Okay.
Sorry. That's for anybody that was curious.
Sorry for the shakiness, chat. I'm so hungover, I can't stand it. All right. So,
all right.
All right.
Put it back on the star.
Okay.
Back on the star.
Okay. So on with the power supply.
Okay. A couple other contributions have come in. We've got, let's see, Winston Anglu with $5 Canadian. He says, Happy Hanukkah, Merry Christmas, and Happy New Year. I don't know how to say that. Joy Noel et bon année. I'm going to say it American style. Joyeux Noel et bonne année. Is that right? Does that sound like French? No. Kevin Arsenault, that's French. I think I say that correctly, Kevin. And that's $20 Canadian. And then we've got Rick Rubisat with €5. He says, Happy New Year. Thank you, Rick. Wayne Trexler with $1.49. Thank you to Wayne. Wayne, I know, was curious about getting one of those veteran giveaway machines. You can film over here. We see I still have a bunch of them over here. And we will, Wayne, do reach out to me. Give me like 2-3 weeks. Let the holiday shipping, the shippers get caught up. And I'll get one out to you, so you don't have to worry. I will get one to you, Wayne. Wayne's been very patient, and he's very deserving of having one. And I've been remiss in answering emails and stuff, but I did get them, and it is on my mind. And you may have to remind me. Squeaky wheel gets its grease. But let's let the holidays calm down a little bit. And again, let the shippers get caught up. This is something I got when we have a studio, a proper studio, to fix our audio issues. This is a fun little portable Zoom F6 audio
nice.
Mixer. And I think this may be what we need to fix the audio once I'm ready to put something permanent in. So I was kind of playing with it, but it's going to take a lot more for me to figure that out. So lots of things are going on, and I'm really excited about it. And again, I just like to give you guys a little bit of teasers to show you that I'm not just all talk, that there is actual stuff here that we are going to be visiting in the near future. And this is a little bit of what 2021 has coming here on the channel. Okay, Mitch, so power supply.
Right there.
All right, I guess I'll step around. Thanks to everybody for your contributions. I appreciate it. And we're going to take this frame out right here. All right, so we'll just take these 4 screws. Now we can use these same 4 screws to put. So what's happening? You see, I've got my screwdriver, Mitch. Mm-hmm. I've got the clutch set on 3, but the clutch works equally where it stops turning when it hits that torque setting, even when you're unscrewing. Which I wish it would only work when tightening. So because these are factory tight screws, I'm going to crank that. You see the setting here? It just shows a drill.
Yep. So
that basically disables the clutch. And now I can take these out regardless of how tight they are. See there? that's the adapter that we won't use. And then as far as putting the power supply in, we cannot put the power supply in from this side. This shroud does not come out. It is riveted in. If you look down in there, you'll see there are rivets and not screws. Some cases you can remove those and, you know, have this whole shroud come off, which is really nice. But this is only an $80 case. I'm not exactly sure why they couldn't have just used screws instead of rivets, to be honest. You can see the rivets here as well. They've used 2 rivets, one right there and one right down there, which prevents you from taking this shroud out. So that means we've got to come in from this side. This is the opposite side of the glass, right? We're going to place it with the power supply fan facing down, and it's going to go in. You'll see down here at the very bottom, there's holes, and that fan is going to draw air in. So it's important that we have enough breathing room under here for air to get under here. If you put this on shag carpeting, you're going to suffocate your power supply. And if you don't clean the filter on the bottom, you see this filter right here is a little handle. You can pull that out, and about once a year you should take that and dust it out, especially if you have any pets, because you will be suffocating your power supply even if you have the clearance and you're not on carpet, but you've never changed your filter, or not changed it, but you don't change it, you clean it. Blow air through it. If you don't know if you've got a filter, this would be a good time to check.
I do mine January 1st.
That's today.
And June 1st, so I do twice a year.
In Arizona, or if you're in a real dry, dusty climate, you know, 4 times a year would be good.
Yeah.
I know at my house, the dust is so bad, if I let it sit for 3 days, like a computer like this, I can run my finger across it, and it looks like it's been sitting there for 3 months. That's how bad the dust is. Living across the street from a farm probably isn't too helpful to that, and having dogs coming and going as they please through the doggy door and bringing all the dander in also attributes to more dust. Here at this location, the dust isn't as bad. It's still Arizona and it's still dry. So you just decide for yourself. When you open up your case and you blow it out and not much comes out, well, you know how long it's been since the last time you've done it, and that can help you gauge how often you should do it for your location. I used an electric battery-operated leaf blower, but there's lots of other ways to do it. Just don't vacuum it. Don't make contact with the components. You don't want to use a brush or anything that's going to touch the components. Just air. We want to blow the air out. We don't want to suck the air out, because there's dust in the heat sinks and the grooves, and you're not going to get that dust out with suction. It has to be forced out through air. And if you're a smoker, well, then the dust often gets real sticky and even air won't take it out. That's where you've got to start disassembling and wiping things down, which is your problem. All right, so to put the power supply in, super easy. We're going to get in with the fan down. We're just going to set it right down in there and push it all the way to the back. You can see I've kind of tangled up my cables.
You all right there, Muscles? I mean, you need a little help.
You're laughing with me or at me?
Both. All right.
Okay, so you can see this kind of slides back and forth.
Okay.
Right, and we just want to push the power supply right up against the shroud. Okay. So we're going to push it in against the shroud, and then once it's against the shroud, then we're going to push it this way, because it also slides back, right? So then once we're this way, then we can go that way, and the holes for the screws, like that one right there, you can see line up.
Yep.
And we'll just go ahead and put the screws back in. Like I said, I can use the screws that came with the power supply, or I can use these screws that we just removed. And I want to, again, look at the screwdriver. I want to set this back on 3.
Not 1, not 2, but 3.
5 is right after.
Yeah. 2's not enough. 3.
That's
Okay,
3.
there we go.
And I just want to start these. I don't want to tighten them down yet.
Yeah, the suspense is just killing me. All right, so there we go.
It doesn't matter what order you go in. If you want to go opposite corners and you want to do the top or the bottom, doesn't matter. Just get them started. And now we can go ahead and tighten them on that. The reason we only get them started is so we can shift the power supply a little left and right as needed for all of the holes to align. And that's the power supply install. Super, super easy. And as I mentioned, because it's not a small form factor requirement, super easy to find a power supply, you know, that it's going to be adequate. So at this point right now, let me ask in the chat room if anybody's got any questions. And we'll give Mitch a little break here. We'll go back to camera 1, which is, where's my camera 1? Okay, we're on camera 1 now. Let's see, what do we have going on? What have I missed in the chat? We've got 640 people watching. Welcome in, everybody. Happy New Year. Steven39A contributes 10 pounds. He says, all the best for the new year, Carrie and community. Well, thank you, Steven. And of course, all the best to you. Madi Yoel joins us. Hey, Madi.
Hey, Madi.
$5. He says, good day, Carrie and chat. The Bicycle Lady contributes $5. Says, Happy New Year. Happy New Year, Bicycle Lady. Rockin' Rob Radigan contributes $5. Says, Happy New Year, everyone. Howdy, Carrie, Mitch, and chat. Glad you're back and hard at work in the studio. Peace. Check your PayPal after broadcast. Well, right on. Thank you very much. And yeah, that catches us up. I think that catches us up. I do believe. Catherine Anna Hauserman says, hello. Hey, Catherine, good to see you. Happy New Year. And Luke Greenia, of course, as always, he says he just deposited the usual $20 via PayPal. Happy and safe New Year to you and Mitch. Thank you, Luke. Thank you so much. And of course, as I mentioned in last night's, the night before last, I did a podcast, broadcast. I'm going to find the words eventually.
Yeah.
And Dave Murray in Scotland, he's an amateur photographer. And he prints these photos and he goes on a website to have calendars made. And he's been sending me a calendar. It's the third year now. And you guys can order them if you want. I know several people have ordered them from Dave in Scotland. Check this out. First of all, it's a nice size calendar.
Ooh.
But tell me that doesn't look like professional photography. Like, just open it up. Just grab any random page.
Beautiful.
That's, I think, Glencoe Rapids.
Trying to not get a reflection, yeah. Ah.
Yeah, so he's got some amazing
amazing photos in here.
And it's a really nice quality calendar. And Dave Murray's a member of the community here. We like to support each other. And since I've never been to Scotland, oh, look how beautiful that is. That's about the closest I'm going to get right there.
Yeah.
That is what? Autumn at Loch, it says at the very bottom, Faskley? Loch Faskley. That's gorgeous.
Yeah.
That could be Michigan right there.
So, yeah, beautiful.
Anyway, if you guys want more details on how you can get one of these calendars from Dave Murray in Scotland, I know he's not charging much for them. Just leave a comment in the comment section below the video after we're done live, and we'll make sure Dave sees it and can give you the steps on how to do it, since he's not, as far as I know, he's not a calendar man. Maybe he is.
And here, Chad, of course, this is one of...
Wait, show the website, BonnieScotlandPhoto.uk.
Okay.
So maybe he is selling them there. Right at the very bottom there is his contact info and everything. See, everything's backwards. It's difficult, isn't it? There's Dave's contact information if you guys want to reach out to him directly.
Very nice.
Arnold Fossman says, Happy New Year to you and Mitch. I'm in the process of ordering the parts for a build.
Ah.
Okay, well, that's exciting. Prepping the motherboard means we have to put the CPU in, the RAM in, the M.2 in, and the cooler on. And once all that's done, then we can put it in the case. So we're going to take the case and get it out of here for right now.
Don't hurt yourself.
It was basically, what, 3 minutes of work at this point, but I wanted a lot of explanation into what we were doing and why. And then, of course, the little hesitation in getting the glass off. And I want to reiterate that this red piece right here, this red piece right here comes out. There's a screw here, and if we turn this sideways, you'll see that there's a little screw that goes to this piece right back here. If we take those 3 screws out, this whole red piece comes out. If that should get in your way or make your build a little more difficult, just take that out of the way, and then when you get your motherboard in and you get your cabling done, this will help cover those cables up. I'm pretty good at working around it, but maybe when we get to it, maybe I'll just show you how it comes out. It doesn't come straight out. You have to sort of take it out on an angle, and then you can tell when it's seated correctly because it's got little
doodads.
Doodads, whatchamacallits. It's got like holes and tabs. You can kind of see right here. They fit into the holes. That'll make sure that you've got it centered correctly and that it sits flush. So we'll just set this over here. Lightest computer ever.
Ooh. Okay.
I'll put it over here.
Now here's the board that we're using. Can they see that? Yeah, okay, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Very nice.
Maybe I'll grab camera 2 and let you do the work.
Oh.
I'm gonna put Mitch to work today. Everybody wants to see my bald spot.
I like doing this.
Yeah, but hold on, let me stand back.
Okay.
Let's see. Let's go to, oh wow, the box is taped closed, huh? Let's go to camera 2, camera 2. Camera 2 is right there. Okay. You ready?
Okay, all right, what do we got here? This is it.
It's upside down.
I'm just testing you. All right.
Oh wait, I'm upside down.
Okay, well.
Let me stand on my head.
All right. What does something like this go for? Any idea? Don't hurt yourself.
B460-I, I think they're around $175.
Ooh,
I think. But remember, that's got built-in Wi-Fi.
Ah.
Let's see what's in the box.
Got the shakes. All right, let's see. Ah.
That's why I'm holding the camera.
Okay. And check for screws.
There won't be any screws that come with the motherboard, except maybe for like the M.2.
Oh, all sorts of goodies in that. Should I pull that stuff out?
Let's see what we got in here.
Okay. We got a 3.5 millimeter to USB-C, or
Oh, that's interesting.
isn't that odd?
For audio.
Yeah. Yeah, our antennas.
I should read the documentation.
Yeah, I think our antennas.
This is, what is this? It's a cable. They wrap it in plastic like it's fragile. I don't know what that is. I have no idea. What else? Some kind of weird. Oh, this is, you know what? This is for RGB lighting.
Oh, okay.
This is the little standoff and screw that we're going to need for the M.2. We got 2 of them. That means we can have apparently 2 M.2s. I don't know. We'll keep these out. What else you got?
That's for the Wi-Fi, right?
Oh, that's our antenna for the built-in Wi-Fi.
And this looks like
SATA cables
cable.
for the 2.5-inch drives if we were going to use them.
Ah.
What you got there? Oh.
Okay.
Authenticity. What you got? Is that a quick release for the front port umbilicals?
I don't know. What is that? I've never seen something like that.
That is... that's used for something. I don't know.
Ah, and here's
stickers. We've got stickers.
Go faster stickers. Our documentation, which we may need.
Maybe. Well, that'll tell us what those stuff is for.
And then last but not least,
Drivers, which we're not going to use. But there are some utilities on here that people might want to play with for temperature monitoring and other nonsense. Okay. Let's go ahead and for right now, take this box. Let's get rid of that. And we're just going to take everything we're not going to use currently and what we don't know what it is. We'll revisit that later. All we need right now are the screws for the M.2. I'm going to take, hold on, leave that open. I'm also going to put the spare screws that came with the power supply screws. These metal brackets that I'm going to keep everything together. The 4 screws that came out of the fan from the top I removed, just in case whoever owns this computer wants to put something there. And then, of course, all the documentation and drivers and such can go back in there. And should be a power cable. And then the rest of the screws that came with the case. We keep everything together that way. And then we'll go ahead and just set that box aside for now. And then I would keep this box forever, just to have all the spare parts for future upgrades, repairs, etc.
And of course, this does come with a built-in I/O shield. Very convenient.
Oh, it is built in. Very nice. I like that.
I got it upside down. All right.
So that's for our built-in video. That's a DisplayPort HDMI, 4 USB 3s. We've got a USB Type-C, 2 more USB 3s, gigabit Ethernet, built-in Wi-Fi, another Type-C right there, and then these are our audio outputs and inputs here. Pretty straightforward. And as for the M.2, where's that going to go? It's pretty tight, isn't it? Well, there's one, but they gave us 2. Where's the other one going? Or the other one is for something else?
Don't know.
Also, these Mini ITX builds, typically you only get the spot for 2 sticks of RAM.
Okay.
So if you're going to put 16 gigs of RAM in there and you use 2 8s, then to upgrade to 32, you'd have to pull the 2 8s and put in 2 16s. If you wanted to go to 64, you'd have to pull the 2 16s and put in 2 32s. So think about that when you're building. You definitely want to use it in pairs for performance reasons, but you don't have to.
Did you say something? I wasn't paying attention. All right, so this is our chip.
That's just rude.
This is our chip. I don't know if you can get a little. Oh, that's too close. Well, that's all right. You tell them what it is. i7?
Can we see? Let's try it this way. We'll use the zoom. Just tilt it up and down. There it is. That's a 10700K. Is it a K? Sure, it's a K. Nice fingernails.
Yeah, this is the part that really makes me.
This is the part I love the most.
This is the brains of the computer, and it's got to go on.
Well, do you want to do the brains first, or you want to do the M.2 since that's probably a little less intimidating?
I need the #1 screwdriver. Where's the #1?
You want the Hosan black. There you know exactly what you're doing. You've been here before. That's a Japanese industrial standard driver. It's not a #1. Oh. It does kind of look like a #1 Philips, but it's, and a #1 Philips will work, but this works better.
Yeah, that's weird that it's not tucked under there. It's just kind of.
Is there tape on there that comes off? Is there like a sticker?
Right here. But that might be for the heat shield underneath it. Right? Yeah.
Yeah, not the heat shield. But,
yeah, thermal tape. Yeah.
I'm going to hold the Lazy Susan so it doesn't spin on you. Stan says you need nail polish. You want to borrow mine?
Not my shade. All right. Ooh, oh, it's magnetic. Very nice. Gosh, that's.
Were you just throwing shade?
That's very tiny. Okay.
Yes. Anything M.2 related is going to be very tiny. Hence the
do not do that on carpet. You would never find that.
Well, you shouldn't be building on carpet anyway. It's static.
All right. Now that should lift right off.
Well, what's under there?
A surprise.
Ah, the tape. So don't remove this protective tape. until we get the M.2 drive installed.
And here's where it's going to go, right here.
Correct. However, it needs to secure down. If we look at this, the M.2 drive is going to go into this socket, and it's going to secure down onto the standoff. And I'm just thinking, when this went back on, when this cover was on, how did this go? Did this go this way?
No.
It went this way.
Right.
So we're going to use that mounting point. And all right. Sometimes these covers share the same, or they have a similar point there that they secure down to. But in this case, with this motherboard, these are here for two different length of M.2s. So it looks like we just need the screw. And it's interesting because in the bag that came in the motherboard, they've given us the screw and a standoff, and the screw in the standoff. I don't know why they've given us the standoff when the standoff is already there. It might be something they explained in the instruction manual. I guess we'll never know. All right, so you're going to unbox the 2 terabyte NVMe drive. You might have had enough caffeine today.
Okay.
How's that hangover? Did you wake up with a tiger in the room?
No, a chicken.
Just going to change the subject.
And that was me. That was me. All right. And remember, folks, don't drink and drive.
I just want to know, Mitch, between you and the chicken, which came first?
And then does this come with its own? Here, look. You can use that, but it comes with its own.
Yeah, but look how thin it is. It's not much of a heatsink. It's a very thin, flimsy. It's really just for looks. It's not really going to cool your drive. And if you want to, you can certainly use it, but you don't use both. Did you hear what I said? Don't use both. You're not going to use this and that. You use, right? Because they don't know, when they say you this drive, they don't know.
How do I get this out? With this little notch here?
Yeah, you see the little cutout, the little half moon? It's okay to bend the plastic, just don't bend the drive. You can always tell when somebody's kind of a noob because they're way too gentle with this stuff. Just grab it and take it out. I don't know why this is a big deal. We got to do this sometime today.
All right.
Now, as you can see, me, of course, very foggy. There's a notch right here. See that notch? You got it there? Okay. The notch next to the shaky.
Well, we're looking at the back of it. You got to come around to the front.
Next to the shaky finger.
That's the back.
Okay, that's the back.
So the drive is going to go in this direction.
Yeah.
And there is a little tiny notch over to the right. Mm-hmm. And that M.2 drive has a notch.
Do I have to do it this way? Yeah, all right.
And you're just going to, it's kind of on an angle, if you can see, and then you can just push it straight in until you see the gold connectors disappear.
And you got a little diving board.
Yeah, so right now it kind of springs up and down, and it should align with that pre-installed standoff, which it does. Some motherboards, the screw will be in the standoff already.
Do I need one of these?
You will. However, they're slightly different. These packages don't contain, look at that, what they did here. That's a completely different standoff than that one. I'm trying to figure out why they did that. Is there anything on the back? Yes. On the back, look this.
Another one.
So you can put an M.2 drive back here.
Yeah.
And then you would put a standoff here or here.
But we're not going to do that. But that's nice that you can do two. So
yeah. Yep, that's why they did that. You see that? But that's going to be a real bear to swap that out if you ever had to upgrade, because you basically have to pull the motherboard out.
Yeah.
So and when you're buying a Mini ITX board, it might be something to watch for. So I guess, how does that sit? Is it flush? It's just really weird they didn't just give us a screw. Well, I would guess that this one is for the back side, and this one's probably for the front, but it's funky.
just like the camera operator. All right, so I need a knife. I can't tear that on.
I'd say something back to you, but you have
Yeah.
a knife.
Yeah.
Yeah, that probably doesn't matter.
This could really go south, yeah.
I got Band-Aids
Yeah.
and rubbing alcohol. Wow, look at you. The student has become the teacher. Your tuition's due. Okay, so we're not going to use, because we already have the stand on.
Duff.
Wait a minute. What the heck? Yeah, it's a little tiny standoff. I wonder what that's for. And then we have that little screw. So all we need is that. Geez, that seems a little too flush.
I'll try it, but
I just want to see this again for a second. I don't think that's gonna reach.
yeah, I don't think so either.
You know what I think we have to do? Let's take this back out. I think we put this one in here. Just try an idea. It's hard to do this in holding the camera.
I'll switch if you want.
This is riveting live YouTube action.
Don't you have another tool in there that can,
Well, I can once I get it started.
Arr. Smoke them if you got them.
2 days later.
2 days. Let me try that.
You wanna
Even
try
with my
it?
shaky hands, yeah.
You see, my problem is I'm holding the camera and I'm holding it with my right hand. I'm right-handed.
Oh,
And I'm using my left hand because it's the only other one I've got.
Yeah, well, I'm left-handed.
And it's right in my field of vision that the camera needs to see, and we both can't see at the same
Yeah,
time.
well, I'm a southpaw, so you know what that is, don't you? He got it.
Yes, I know what a
Let's give him a
southpaw
thin
is.
applause, right?
It's a dog's hind legs. Those are the southpaws.
okay.
Now I
back.
think, I'm guessing, because it looked like it was pretty level, but you know, it's making such a minor difference in altitude. If I put this back in. Yeah, you know what?
Yeah, and then
looks pretty
and then you use a little one. Then in that, you think?
Yes,
Yeah.
because what that's doing is that's coming up a little bit through that hole.
Gotcha. What is that really a number one? That is so small. Luckily,
Well,
luckily there's a magnet.
As far as I know, Phillips doesn't make anything smaller than number one. You'd have to get like a jeweler's screwdriver.
And you don't want to over tighten. You just want to.
Yeah, it's just going to hold that down. So once it's snug, you're good to go. You can go a little bit more than that if you want to.
Complaints from the peanut gallery. All right.
How's that? You try. I mean, yeah,
I like it.
That's done. Okay. All right.
Hey,
see how easy that was? Nah.
Well, it's just a little bit of little detail work, you know.
Now this.
Now that not yet. We've got that heatsink to put back on.
Oh yeah. Not this one.
Show that one again. You're too quick.
Yeah.
So that one, we'll just put that away. Stick it on your forehead or something.
Okay.
Now you can remove that tape. That tape is there to keep that free of any detritus. How's that for a word? Dust and debris, dirt, crud.
I don't want to play in Scrabble. Okay, so there you go.
Quidgy
Don't touch that. And then it went on like this, where this was on a vertical. You know how you like that word? That's
Vertical?
Yeah. Okay.
I got a shot for that. I think I'm immune.
Okay. How's that? And then we'll replace it with the 2. Okay.
Why does it look cattywampus? Why does it look like it's... Oh, because of the tape. Is that right?
Yeah, that's how it was. See on the angle?
Nothing secures it over here?
Oh, no.
Okay.
Just these 2.
Yeah, I see
just
that.
these 2 doodads. Am I in? I don't know. How can I tell?
Well, I mean, the screw should bite.
I think it did. How do you like that, Chad? First try. All right.
When we got it on film, it happened.
Yeah.
It's digital film.
Don't want to, cinch them, but snug. Is snug good enough? I like snug.
Yes.
I like saying snug. Okay. You want to test it?
Nope.
Mr. Camera, you
Nope.
believe me?
It's not that important.
Isn't that 2 terabytes loaded
correct.
just like that?
Yeah. and
Beautiful.
it's super fast, 2 terabytes too.
Okay, then that.
You want to do the CPU next?
I'd rather you do it because it's so expensive. I just can't stand the pressure.
I think the only way you're going to get good at it is
Don't-
by practice.
okay.
Therefore, I would suggest highly.
Spin it around or no? I mean, can I do it this way? You don't have to go that tall. Oh.
I have to. Why do you have to be so damn tall? Let them talk with your parents. This is not acceptable. Ow!
No,
I don't know what that was. Okay, so.
it's rubbing alcohol. All right.
Oh, well, we're going to need that in a little bit.
Okay.
So if you, so there's a little cover that Mitch is pointing at that's protecting the delicate pins. This is what has Mitch worried. You have to face your fears, Mitch.
Okay.
You have to do it. So you're going to take that little lever, you're going to push it down and away and then lift it up. And that's going to raise that lid. You're so gentle. You don't be so gentle. Give the lid, take that lid and lift it. Now those are all the little delicate pins in there. They're extraordinarily delicate. That's why they're covered and protected at all times.
How many pins?
1151.
So you
That's
say.
why it's called a socket 1151. As I mentioned, this is a slightly lightly used CPU.
One owner. Okay.
That's right. It's a one owner. And still the latest and greatest, 10th gen. And you'll see there's a little cutout in the corner to help separate the top and the bottom there from the packaging. And then there's cutouts on each side so you can reach in there and pull that out. Now it's not delicate, right? The only reason Mitch is holding it that way is we want to avoid getting any of the oils from our skin on the top or the bottom.
And then
you
is
can hold it side to side.
And then is that the doodad there? That's the star, right? I mean, I don't see on any other side. Do you?
Is that a triangle? I need my glasses. Everything's so tiny.
My glasses.
My glasses.
Glasses.
Get my shoes and my glasses.
Glasses. That's got to be it.
Wait, don't move it like that when I'm zoomed in. Turn the other side. Let me see the other side. Sometimes they put it in or... No, I mean, the flip it around.
This one.
I want to see the pins,
Oh.
or what we call the landings. Here's what I can tell you. On most of these boards, the chip will generally go in.
Because I see a little dot right here because I got very young eyes. No, they're old, but
You see the writing on the chip?
yeah.
Okay, so you see the way the motherboard's facing, how this lid goes down like this? Do you see the direction the lid closes? Do you see the writing on the lid?
Yes, I do.
I want the writing on the lid to match the writing direction on top of that CPU.
Yeah, that's facing me. That's
So
facing
that's a cheater way. And then what you're going to do is you're going to take the edge, this edge of the CPU right here, and I want you to press it against the, without pushing down, just sort of press it against the lip of the socket.
Okay, and then as you can see on the CPU, you got your 2 notches here. Can they see that? The 2 notches here.
Yeah, and they're not exactly identical. One's a little lower than the other.
But that should fit snug here.
Watch your finger against those pins.
And here.
Yeah, you definitely want to stay clear of those pins. And just try and find, even if you want to just pick an edge and put it in on an angle.
I kind of like doing it. You see the notch? Can I do that?
Yes.
Like I'm shaking, but that's right.
And then just just bring it down as far as you can and then let it go. And then what I like to do is, you got that dead on first try. Now, a lot of people have this hesitation when it comes to closing the lid back down. Mm-hmm. And the reason they do is, when they're first time builders, is this lever has like no resistance on it.
Right.
But you see, with the CPU right where it is, it's not touching the pins underneath of it.
Okay.
Not yet. It has to be pushed down. Mm-hmm. So when we put this lid back down,
and then it's going to go under this. Yeah.
Right. Mm-hmm. Right. See the little fork is going to go underneath that screw. But now this lever is going to have a lot more resistance than it had before.
Okay.
And that's where people get really nervous. There's no reason to be nervous on this point. As long as you've ensured that your CPU is seated properly,
okay,
I want you to press that lever down and put it underneath the catch.
Drum roll.
As much force as it takes to do that, okay? As much force. Don't let up. Keep going, keep going. One good move. And you notice that little plastic lid popped up all on its own. You want to put that plastic lid away. It'll go in the motherboard box with everything. Just set it here for now. But it'll go in the motherboard box in case we ever have to RMA this motherboard. We don't want to send it back to the manufacturer with RAM or M.2 or CPU installed because we may not get them back.
Did you really want to clean that? That looks pretty clean. I mean, I'll clean it if you want me to, but it's pretty clean. It's up to you.
Well, now I've all touched it.
Well,
so
now we got.
Well, we don't have to clean it right now.
Oh, okay.
Not yet. You want to touch it?
No, I don't want to touch it.
Go ahead.
I touched it.
Oh, you ruined it. It's broken. This stuff is not that delicate, folks.
Okay.
The reason we're not touching it is so that we don't have to clean it. But
now we
I was going to clean it anyway, so
okay.
I never touch it, ever. So I thought, we'll do something different today.
Okay. It's
so was it worth it?
New year.
Totally
okay.
Worth
Yeah.
it. Thomas Backenstows contributed $5. Hey, Thomas, good to see you, my friend. Thank you. Tim Allen with 10 pounds says, by the way, I'm not that Tim Allen.
Ah.
Do you know what Tim Allen's real name is?
No.
Tim Dick.
Oh, yeah, that's right. And he's from Michigan, and we're both from Michigan.
That's right.
Yeah.
And no relation to Andy Dick.
No.
But for some reason, they thought that Tim Dick was not a good name for Hollywood, so he changed it.
Yeah.
Andy Dick apparently thought it was just fine.
Yeah,
so
it's perfect for him.
Little trivia that has nothing to do with anything. But Tim Allen.
Yeah.
More power.
Yeah. A fellow Detroiter, like Uncle Kerry and Uncle Mitch.
Or at least a Michigander, anyway.
Michiganian. All right, so what should
It's not a thing.
Okay, so what should we do next?
Well, before we put the RAM in, because the RAM's going to stand up tall, we could do prep the
all-in-one.
Well, it's not an all-in-one. It's a cooler, but it's an air cooler.
Oh, I thought it was all-in-one. That's what I thought.
All-in-one is it would mean it's liquid cooled.
Yeah, and it's not.
No, the Noctua cooler, which is right over there. As you can see, well, I guess they really don't show you anything but a fan.
Okay.
Go ahead and open it up and you'll see what it is.
We have a box. A box here.
A box in a box that was shipped to us in another box.
I can scooch that down. Okay.
What else we got?
And then we got a piece of cardboard. Very exciting. Okay. And then we have a fan.
Go ahead, take
which
that.
I'm not a fan of. All right.
You're not a fan of the fan? It's a good fan.
Okay. No. Yeah. Unscripted, folks. I'm struggling.
No, that's actually in the script. He's doing a great job. That's how good of an actor Mitch is.
Okay.
Anything else in that box? Ow!
Oh, yeah.
Ah, there it is. Beautiful. Ooh, my little doodad fell off. I can put it back on.
Oh, you should see a doctor about that.
Yeah, okay.
All right, so this is the Noctua air tower cooler. It's not an all-in-one. And what Mitch said, his little doodad fell off. He's referring to the little plastic cover that goes on the polished bottom. Again, we want to keep that free of any dust, debris, detritus.
Put that on. Mm-hmm.
Detritus.
Okay.
It's a town in Michigan where they make cars. Detritus.
Can you do that one-handed?
You know, I've been doing it one-handed all my life.
Okay.
There we go.
And that's a 120.
I think that's a 140.
Oh.
Isn't that a 140? Sure, it's a 140. Anyway,
Yeah.
you'll see these screws here are already on some other tower cooler fans that are less expensive. The fans can be noisier. Of course, Noctua is known for having quiet fans. A lot of times this little T-bar that's underneath here has to be installed separately. So I'm glad that Noctua has already done that for you. And then these screws are often in a little bag and they're captured onto that little T-bar. That makes this one of the easiest third-party tower coolers I've ever installed.
Should we see if
Not the
there's
cheapest though.
Should we see if there's anything else?
Yeah, sure. What else you got in there? Noctua, they must own an investment in a cardboard company because they sure do like to use a lot of it. You could do shadow puppets.
And we have a box of thingamajigs.
Well, it says on the cover of the box.
Thingamajigs. A lot of thingamajigs.
So that's what's in the box. And this is going to work for both Intel and AMD. And there is a separate set of brackets if you wanted to add a fan to the other side of this. So you could have a fan on each side,
Okay.
pulling and pushing the air. But this works adequately just as is. And you'll see, look how everything's going to color match. You see how the fan is black, the cooler is black, the motherboard is black, the RAM is red. It's all going to be a black and red theme. And so we don't need the RGB. I think it's going to be much more subtly elegant. Yeah, we'll go with that.
So you say. Okay.
That's
all
what I'm
right.
saying.
So what next?
But, well, I think I need to take a little break. Let's talk to the chat room for a little bit. Let me get a drink and let me rest my arm.
Okay.
So we're going to go back over to camera 1 as soon as I find my...
Nice.
Yeah, let's see.
Back to camera 1.
Whew, okay. All right. Martin says, no Scythe Mugen 5? No, because it's silver. There's supposed to be a black Mugen 5 coming out, but the pandemic has really caused a lot of delays. So as far as I know, the black edition is not out. And,
But we'll definitely find out. Because I'm going
to reach out to the folks at Scythe.
Yep.
And see if we can't work out some sort of a sponsorship this year. And I'd like to introduce the black Mugen 5. I'd like my channel
exclusive.
Yeah, to be the first to have it. And we discussed that possibility, and that was about 3 months ago. And the Mugen 5 was a great cooler. It's slightly larger. The heatsink's bigger than this. However, I think this has just as many heat pipes. I think that's a 12. It's a 10 heat pipe cooler. See, there's 5 on each side. Mm-hmm. And Shimon Cohen says, Carrie, come to visit in Israel. I would love to visit Israel. Absolutely. Just don't want to fly on a plane. But maybe one of these days I'd love to. Paul O'Brien says, Happy New Year. Hello, all. Paul's watching us from Ireland. Sláinte, Paul.
Okay.
It's my one Irish word, I know, so I'm going to just use it.
I'll get you a drink.
What do you want? Shot in a beer? No. Smoking a pancake? What do you want?
I think just one of those tiny cans of Coke would be good.
Okay.
Patrick has provided a link to Amazon, and he's showing us this black Ninja 5, which is not the Mugen, and that would be too large. That would be way too big for this build. So we're actually talking about, you see how big the Ninja is? That's way too big. We need about half of that in black. So I will work with Scythe this year to see if we can introduce the Black Mugen 5 when it eventually comes out.
Yep.
Okay. Nice thought. 683 people are watching. You guys want to give us a shout out? Let us know where you're watching us from. That's always fun and exciting. This is the first day of 2021, and I thought let's kick it off with a bang by doing something different.
You know, as much as we like the 8-year build.
Hey, you know, I've had a number of people reach out to me because they can't get the motherboard for the 8-year build because that's using a 9th gen Intel. And you know, the 9th gen Intel chips aren't really that much less performance. If you're looking at an i7 9700K versus this 10700, it's really not a lot of difference there. However, they're not exactly, as far as I know, making those 300 series motherboards anymore. They've moved on to the 400 series. I could be wrong, but they are getting harder and harder to find. Any 300 series motherboard will work. The reason I picked the one I did was because it was $100 and it's a good stable board, but there's a micro ATX version of that same board that's available that will work with fewer expansion slots. And of course, Asus and MSI and ASRock also make them as well. Any of those boards would function just fine with the 8-year build. You don't have to use that specific motherboard. Or you could move into a 10th generation, which I will eventually have to do because that 8-year build is now 2 years old. So I guess it's a 6-year build.
And I noticed I went back through your videos because I was bored to death, and I saw.
You must have been.
I saw that the Mitch birthday build. We did that on my birthday, March 5th, 2019.
Oh, when's your birthday this year?
March 5th.
When is it next year?
2019. So maybe.
Is your birthday the same day every year?
Yeah. Yeah. So maybe we'll convince Uncle Kerry, not that I need it, because again, it's a great solid 8-year build, but I could go for another one, you know, another birthday build. So
name the time and the place, and we will totally do that.
Yeah. I want that Nuka-Cola case. So
Do you want it?
I so want it.
They're still available for sale.
It's a showpiece. Well, get me one, you bet.
Well, hold on. Where's my map? Oh, it's right here.
Don't show me, get me.
Well, no, let me see if they're available. We'll go to NZXT.com.
There's no way that's going to be still available.
Yeah, I think so. I think it is. We'll go to NZXT.com and then we'll bring up
Nuka or
Creator PC support. Where's the cases? Starter PC, streaming PC, Creator PC. Competitive gaming, 2-year warranty. This is for selling. So NZXT will build you a computer, which I don't know how good of a job they do, but it's so much more satisfying to build it yourself.
Yeah.
I'd still rather see you do that than buy a pre-built. At least these are being built to your specs. And it doesn't look like they're making a whole lot of money on it. And I don't know what their support is like. But again, if you build it yourself, you're your own support. Yeah. So, you know, it's much better. NZXT, I'm not at the right place. Let's do NZXT cases. What's the website? Let's find it. Computer cases, NZXT.com, categories, cases. And we should be able to find the Nuka-Cola case in here. There's an Overwatch case, a Ninja, a Phantom Gaming Special Edition, the H710. The H1 is an interesting, weird case that looks like a pain in the butt to work on. Mm-hmm. It was here. Where did it go? All right, you know what? I'm just going to Google it. NZXT Nuka, N-U-K-A, Cola, C-O-L-A, enter. H700 Nuka-Cola, $299.99 out of stock. You want to buy the one I have?
How do you like that? It's just so unique. I mean, not only the front panel, but the side panel. Isn't it with the girl standing there? Isn't that on the side panel? Yeah, right there, yeah.
Nobody can see what we're looking at.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So I have the Nuka-Cola build that I did for myself because I like the case so much. It's got an 8086K in it, which is one of those processors that was limited edition.
Okay.
And I think I've used it for about 3 hours. I have not. I wanted to change all the fans out to Noctua fans.
Okay.
and it's got a liquid cooler, so that had 3 fans, and there's 2 fans in the front, 1 fan, there's 6 fans total. And I did the case fans, and now I still have to do the radiator fans because I want it to look pretty. You know, the fans were different colors and stuff, so I want to go all black with the fans.
Yeah.
And then, of course, I got to do the cable management, but it's working, and it's got Windows 10 on it. Same old story, you know, I build 90% of the thing. I get Windows 10 installed, I test it, it works flawlessly. I run the temperature test, the torture test, and then I set it aside and go, well, I'll do the little finalizing stuff later, and then I never get around to it.
Wah, wah, wah.
So on the positive side, it's like new.
Yeah. And you say you have 2 of them, 2 cases.
No.
That's just the only one that you bought. I could have sworn, or maybe you built one for somebody, from what I remember.
I built 4 of them.
For people. Yeah.
And this one was mine.
Ah, okay.
The only reason it's mine is I had a viewer call me, and he said that he bought it from watching my video. He liked it, and he moved his parts from his old case into the new case, and it didn't work. Wouldn't boot. So he tried to fix it, couldn't fix it, took the parts back out, put it in his original case, and it all works again. So he said, you know what? It's not worth it. So he was going to return it. He said, no, wait a minute. Maybe Uncle Kerry would want it. I'd like to see it used on the video.
Right.
He said, do you want this? And I said, well, it's probably a lot of money to ship. He says, I live in Phoenix.
Oh.
I said, well, I'll drive wherever I need to pick it up from you. And no strings attached. He goes, here. Put it all right back in the box, just like he was ready to ship it back.
Nice.
And he said, I just look forward to seeing what you do with it on the channel. So I didn't want to sell it to somebody. And I personally liked it, but I had a hard time justifying the expense.
Yeah.
And I thought, well, I owe it to this viewer to keep it. And so it's sitting in my office.
There you go.
Next to the Threadripper that's not done, next to the Xenos that's not done, next to the Fantex that's not done. And then there's a bunch of cases in my garage, a bunch of Corsair 200Rs. Those are on sale for $59.99 at Amazon right now. And I've got some other, Ryan had sent me a Leon Lee case he wants me to review, which looks like a real pain in the butt to work on. But you know, when people do that, I feel obligated to have to use it. But they're not going to any specific customer, so there's no timeline for when I have to get it done. And then days turn into weeks, weeks turn into months, and months turn into decades. I'm not sure how that works, but maybe, I mean, if the Nuka-Cola had to go to somebody, I would want it to go to you.
Yeah,
but that 8086K, I almost feel like it'd be in your best interest to keep that chip in there, because even though it's not the latest and greatest chip, go on eBay and see what an 8086K is selling for.
What graphics card did you shove in there? Was it a?
I think it's a 1080.
Ooh,
but that's easy to swap out.
Yeah,
put anything in there.
Yeah.
But that might have missed some contributions. Let me take a quick look. Procta contributed £5. Says, hey, Kerry, it's been a while. Happy New Year. Hey, Happy New Year to you. Thank you very much. Kevin Arsenault with another $20 Canadian contribution. Samuel Ramos with $19.99 says, Happy New Year, Kerry. Here's a little something for the channel. Kevin again with another $20 Canadian. Very generous, Kevin. Thank you. Justin Havoc contributes $5. Says, from a fellow Toto fan. Happy New Year.
There you go.
See, I knew there was more than one.
One, yeah.
Irving T. Irving watches us in France. And has contributed €2, and he says, Happy New Year, Kerry and Mitch. Thank you, Irving. Always good to see you, my friend. And then I think that catches us up. Thank you, friends, for supporting the channel, and supporting this community.
And being here with us today. Yeah, very nice.
You know, I've worked a lot of jobs that were a lot worse than this. And had coworkers a lot worse than you.
Yeah.
That's called a compliment.
Yeah.
A backhanded one, but one nonetheless.
Let me use my blow tickler one more time. Oh, that's fun to do. All right. So very nice. All right.
Did you buy that?
No, that was at the bar I was at last night.
Were they passing it around?
that they threw me out of. Yeah, they were passing those around.
Okay, it's your turn.
All right.
I don't know why the super spreader event there. Huh?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. In the chat room, if you guys have any questions for us right now, now that I'm paying attention, I haven't seen anything you guys have written in the last 20, 30 minutes. So if you have a question or a comment you'd like for Mitch or I to address, please say so now. Yeah.
Everything or anything but the meaning of life. You know what I mean?
I can answer that.
Okay.
It's 42.
Okay. There you go.
Everybody knows that.
Wasn't that the baseball number of
Sure.
yeah, never mind.
You know, they say when you're getting older, the first three things to go is your memory and
two others.
what was I talking about? Anyway, if you have a comment in the chat room or a question, please do so now.
Anybody else have plans on building their own machine this year?
Well, that's a good question. How many of you are planning to build a new computer this year?
Sure. I know parts can be tough with what's going on, but
Will an X570 board support the old ATI Radeon 9550 GPU? If it's PCI Express, it should work. It'll just be really slow. I mean, it'll be at the limit of that process of your whole system, as far as any graphics go, will be limited by the GPU. But if it's a PCI Express GPU, I don't see why it wouldn't work. Robert wants to know if I'm still having people call me. No, that phone number's been disconnected. As I mentioned, I had just did that for temporarily to sort of test or gauge how much that would you guys would be involved, and it really wasn't being used very much. So not really worth continuing, but I might revisit it a couple times a year. Okay. But I just wouldn't keep it on all the time because then it's too infrequent. Michael Dane with another contribution, $5. He says, greetings, Kerry and Mitch. Hey, Michael. You know who Michael is?
Mm-hmm.
He's the man.
Yeah.
Thanks, Michael. Rick Lake says he's got a bunch of computers to build for an office. That's a nice way to get started in 2021. Madi with a $10 contribution says, Kerry, I need some help one day. Hi, Mitch. Thank you for helping Kerry. So I guess you help me and then I help him, and this is how the whole thing works. We'll talk soon, Madi. Happy New Year to you, my friend. What is your favorite computer build case? I think that's pretty easy to answer.
Yeah.
Do you know what it is?
Corsair R200.
200R, but
we
won't let the dyslexia.
Backwards I am talking. Okay.
Thanks, Yoda.
Yeah.
Did you manage to give away all those PCs? No, we've got several left over, and again, that'll be something we revisit in a few weeks' time when I can. Like the post office is so backed up. My dogs were supposed to get their bark box on December 15th. I think the 15th, whatever that Wednesday was of that week. And apparently, they've been getting a lot of complaints. People are like, hey, where's my bark box? And they said, we can't even give you an ETA now. We don't even know. And so the post office is really messed up.
Yeah.
So I think I don't want to add to the mess. I'll wait until they get their act straightened out. And then I'll go back to shipping some stuff. I don't think it's affecting FedEx or UPS. It's just
they seem to be
USPS.
all right, yeah.
Mitch, tell us about the 10-bedroom house hotel.
I would, but my brother would probably beat me up. He's my younger brother, but yeah.
Sounds like a nice place.
Yeah. Yeah, he's
I think that's more of a manor than
he's a contractor, been a contractor, has his own company for 30 years.
Well, that explains everything now. Only 10 bedrooms?
So, yeah.
Is that Willed Grill? Both my roommates want to build a PC soon after they saw mine. One of them wants to be able to edit in 4K on Premiere and is looking at a Ryzen 9 3950X, and I'm wondering if that's more than needed. When you're editing video, you never have more than needed. Never. You'll never have enough storage. It'll never be fast enough. Your CPU could always use more cores and more higher frequencies. And more RAM, 64 gigs of RAM would be a minimum on a system like that, in my opinion.
Right.
And I think he's on the right path, but he's got to pair it with a really good graphics card. So when you're building a video editing machine, the top of the line is still not good enough. Like if you bought the best processor and the best graphics card and you jammed in 128 gigs of RAM, especially if you're going to do 4K videos, if you're going to do a lot of transitions, or if those videos will be like my videos, an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, it's very intensive on every resource that the computer has. So no, it is not overkill. Not in my opinion. Hugh wants to know, Mitch, if you have any exciting stories.
Other than for the last 2 or 3 months, I've been renting a motorcycle once a month to see if I like it, and I've really enjoyed it. As an actor, you've got to stay in the moment, what they say, and as a rider of a motorcycle, your mind can't wander. You got to stay in the moment, know your surroundings, and so it looks like this month I'll go ahead and get one, but not a giant hog.
You're going to buy a motor because you've been renting.
Yeah.
Isn't it just cheaper to rent it when you want?
No, because depending on the size of the bike, the last one I rented was maybe for one day it was $300. So if I'm
with insurance or
with insurance, so
okay.
I mean if I'm gonna pay that, you start doing that a couple of times a month. It doesn't make sense to. I might as well own, but I told myself that I'm only going to ride for 3 years, and then when I hit a particular age number, I'm going to let that go. So I just want a bike for 3 years around town, Phoenix, something like that, maybe 1200 cc. Go to Bartlett Lake, and we have up here at Payson, or Sedona, things like that. I've got 2 or 3 buddies that I ride with, and I've really enjoyed it. And so, you might as well. I know it's dangerous, very, very dangerous, but I've just had a blast. And I owned dirt bikes as a kid, my brother and I, growing up in Michigan, and we would ride them around and never had a problem. So yeah, I'll be looking here within the next couple of weeks, and
I'll tell you a fun thing you can do. And I used to know about this website and I forgot about it. It's still around, and it's called Turo, Turo. If you're familiar with Airbnb, where you maybe a house you want to rent out to somebody, whether it's for months or a weekend, makes a little extra money. Somebody gets more square footage or a bigger place for less money than a hotel or something like that. Well, there's this Turo, which is basically Airbnb for your car. Mm-hmm. So if you have a car, any kind of car, doesn't matter, and you want to let strangers drive it for a fee every day.
Per day fee. Yeah.
Turo provides the commercial insurance, so you don't have to worry about that. And I've heard some horror stories from people that were renting their cars out. But as a renter, for somebody to actually go and rent one, you can rent one of those like Polaris slingshots, which look like a real fun thing to have for a weekend, for like $90 a day. You can rent a Maserati or a Lamborghini or Ferrari, a Tesla, of all varying rates, as well as even something simple like a Toyota Yaris. Maybe you flew into wherever you are for business and you would typically rent a car. You could get a typical rental car or type of car from Turo for a fraction of the price, or maybe for the same price, get like a luxury car, and it can help you decide. Maybe you just want to know how the other half lives, or maybe you want an extended test drive because you're thinking of buying, thinking of buying a Lexus. Well, you can rent one on Turo, and it should be available in all the major cities and around the world, Turo. And might be a fun way to just, even if you want to do a little weekend drive. I didn't see any motorcycles, but there was vans and sports cars and, you know, all like classic cars, and some extreme cars. And of course, those get pretty pricey. But
So again, if anybody in chat, I'm in the market, obviously, and believe it or not, in Arizona, you do not have to wear a helmet when you drive a motorcycle. I think that's pretty dumb, but I'm in the market for a helmet. The prices can go anywhere from $300. I've seen up to even $600 or $700. I don't know what brand, but I know that I want a full-size helmet, not a half or three-quarter. So if anyone has some suggestions, I certainly will go back through the broadcast here and look at some names if anybody knows of a good full-faced helmet. I got to protect this brain, you know. It's a terrible thing to waste.
I thought that was in the seat cushion.
Yeah. So.
My buddy Ron Hilliard joins us. Hey, Ron. John Young contributes $10, says Happy New Year, Carrie and Mitch. Hey, thank you, John. Happy New Year to you. Linda Hudson says, I'm in Lexington, North Carolina, so my son, Steve Jarvis, just became North Carolina State Senator of Davidson today. Well done. Congratulations. Sounds like a glutton for punishment to get involved in politics these days. But that's a heck of an accomplishment. Do you have any? Michael Dane wants to know if you have any good words of wisdom. I would take bad words of wisdom.
Well, since I was up there for 2 weeks in Vail, Colorado, I mean, obviously don't eat the yellow snow. That goes without saying. And my brother does have a Labrador retriever that's only 2 months old. And I think Carrie knows this. Back in September, my brother called me and said, will you help me go to Baltimore, Maryland to pick up this puppy on the plane because I don't think I can do it alone. And so I drove up there in September, and my brother and I flew to Baltimore, spent a couple of days.
You drove to Colorado.
I drove to Colorado.
And then from Colorado flew to
Baltimore, Maryland, spent a couple of days, went to the breeder, got the puppy at 8 weeks old. That's the youngest that a dog can be to fly on an airplane. And
well, and I don't think they should be, what's the word, whelped or separated from their their mother until they're like 8 weeks.
It definitely was a two-man job, but my brother took me to a couple of great restaurants, seafood there in Baltimore. I'd never been there. Very green and nice, and that was a good trip, and brought the dog back home. So it did remember me when I was up there here a couple of weeks ago. So,
and is it behaving? Is it a good dog?
I think so. He's not much of a trainer, but they're taking it to puppy school, and so they'll get it trained.
When they're puppies, the teething moments.
And trying to crate them, and it's
But when they get older, they become really labs.
Yeah. As a single guy, of course, everyone's telling me, Mitch, why don't you get a dog? Why don't you get a dog? I'm like, I can't even take care of myself. You think I can't handle the responsibility?
Dog will take care of you.
Carrie loves them, but I travel too much. And again, as soon as international travel opens up, I'm going for at least 2 months, if not 3. I'm not looking forward to wearing a face mask in the various countries that I'll go to, Philippines and Vietnam, but that's not going to stop me. So as soon as I get the vaccine and these countries allow international travel, I would imagine as long as you can prove that you've had the vaccine.
They have like a vaccine passport is what I heard.
Yeah, so I'm going. And because I was, all set to go for 2 months last year in the summer to get out of this terrible Phoenix, Arizona heat. And so with any luck, June, July, and August of this year, I'll go. Hong Kong and Singapore and Kuala Lumpur, and spend a month in the Philippines. There's 700 islands there to look at. And then if I have any money left over, I'll spend some time in Vietnam. So.
Well, Paul Wright, referring back to your question about helmets, says check out cyclegear.com.
Okay.
And he says he'd be dead if he didn't have his helmet on when he wrecked his Triumph.
Ooh. So yeah, good full face.
Yeah, if you want a positive reason, motivation to wear a helmet, just listen to Gary Busey talk for about 10 minutes.
That's right. Yeah. And it's tough because I wear glasses, and again, things are tight, but the last few rides I put in my contact lenses, and then that's fine. There's no issue with bending or breaking glasses. They do have motorcycle helmets specifically for people that wear glasses, which I would assume would be a little wider here, so it's not crushing your...
And they'll have like built-in Bluetooth and stuff.
Right.
So you can
That's what I heard, yeah, so you can chat with...
Well, that too. Stan Ristoff says, Arai, A-R-A-I, is that an I or an L? Make good helmets. Wilhelm Gordon contributes $9.99.
Thank you.
Hey, thanks, Wilhelm. And Madiuel again with another contribution here. He contributes $5. He says, if I can get the screen to show, he says, Happy New Year. I hope it will be a good year, not like 2020. I think nobody's going to argue with you about that.
Yeah. And remember, chat, unlike Carrie, I'm going to get the vaccine when it comes out, just as long as my shot doesn't say made in China. Then I'm not going to get it.
And unlike Mitch, I'll wait and see what happens to him.
Yeah.
And then I'll gauge my response.
Barking at the moon, yeah. Okay.
Well, I got a flu shot because of you this year. Never had a flu shot.
I mean, did you notice any, like, for a day or two after, were you feverish or skittish? Or just, to me, I was like, give it to me. I'm no big deal. So doesn't protect you from all
conspiracy, man. The government just wants you to get this vaccine, and they inject a tracker in you so they can watch where you're going. And,
that's right.
And they can shut you off at any time.
It's Skynet all over again.
It's all about control, man. It's all about manipulating the public, man. They're out to get me because I'm so important.
So you've got a lot of rubbing alcohols down here. Which one do you use? I like the denatured one. That's only 75% though, isn't it? Or is that 99?
Denatured is usually 99.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. This is 91%.
Which is more than fine, right?
Oh yeah.
Didn't you bring an old one though, that from the house?
No.
Okay.
No. And so I went over to Safeway to buy some rubbing alcohol. And they were sold out. So I went up to the pharmacy, which is where I bought the denatured alcohol before. And the pharmacy, I said, do you have any rubbing alcohol back there? And they said, no, whatever we have is on the shelf. I go, well, there's nothing on the shelf. They go, oh, that's because of the pandemic. Everybody's buying it. So I thought, oh no, I went online and went on eBay and I ordered 99% rubbing alcohol. It cost me $10. Whew, it's ridiculous. But then there's a Walgreens across the street from the Safeway. And you think, well, your drugstore is probably going to have rubbing alcohol. And sure enough, they have a lot. I mean, this whole excuse that it's the pandemic, no, it just means the manager of the store is not stocking properly. So at the Walgreens, they had the 70% alcohol and they had the 91% alcohol, and both of these together aren't like $4 or some ridiculous cheap price. But you're supposed to use the higher alcohol content for electronics cleaning and the lower alcohol content for first aid or antiseptic. If you use the higher alcohol content for first aid, you can actually cause more harm. So it kind of surprised me that this 99% rubbing alcohol is called ER, and it says first aid antiseptic, but I'm not aware of where that would be recommended. And the ER doesn't stand for emergency room, it's ever ready. But that's marketing at its best. But this was expensive because I bought it off Amazon, and this is probably a little heavy to ship it. So it was like $10. It shouldn't cost more than $4 or $5. However, a lot of very technical people, very much into measuring minutia. Either one of these.
Eeny, meeny, miny, mo.
This would leave a slight residue behind.
Okay.
Right?
So
because
that's
it's said the stronger the alcohol content.
So should we use that one and put this one away?
Well, we're not there yet. But you know what? I don't think I've used this one. Have I opened this yet? Oh, I did open it.
Oh, okay.
No,
you haven't. No, don't open it.
Why not? What did I buy it for?
Oh, yeah, that's true. Then use that one. Put those two away.
So this I kept out because I was doing a video about it, but this would go like in the bathroom for first aid. This one will stay with my computer stuff. And the only reason I bought this was I wasn't quite sure what this was going to be like. Yeah. And these do have expiration dates on them, but for cleaning, like this, what is the expiration date? Can you October 23?
10/2003. 2023. 23. Yeah.
My bottle of denatured alcohol that you guys see me use in my kitchen back at the other
Yeah.
place, I've had that 20 years. So the thing is, when you're working, and this is where my OCD comes in handy, if I leave that open and forget about it, when I come back tomorrow, it'll probably be that it just evaporates out.
Right.
So so it's good to put the lid back on it right away to stop that evaporation from occurring. But this is so much bigger because it's lower alcohol content and it costs about the same amount as this. And both of these together were not as much money as this. So there's probably cheaper places than Amazon to get it if you can't find it locally, if you want that 99% rubbing alcohol. Denatured alcohol is basically pure alcohol, and they put a chemical in it so that people don't drink it. If you drink it, it'll make you sick. It was an issue they had, I think, on naval vessels.
So just gargle with it, then you'll be all right. Yeah.
Okay. It kills 4,000% of germs.
Okay. So we're going to use that one. No, we're going to use the.
Yeah, we'll use that, but we're not ready for it yet.
Okay.
What do you think? Should we get back to work? Is that what you're trying to tell me, Mitch? You cracking the whip over there?
It's a new year, new day, things to do.
Is it a new Mitch?
Yeah. Hopefully.
Yeah.
Yeah.
John Doe says, I use 91% alcohol for cleaning my bowling balls. It breaks down the oil from the lanes. Absolutely. Any sort of cleaning application. Kenny Whidden says, moisture will also get in if you leave the cap off. That's true. I hadn't thought about that. Michael Dane says, if you get the vaccine, just hope you don't start saying brains, brains. I want your brains.
Right.
Marin Koric says, Happy New Year from Croatia. I can't pronounce the name of the city. Love your channel. I learned very much from you. Thank you. Wish you all the best in 2021. Hey,
and of course, getting shots, I have a very, very low threshold of pain. Haircuts put me in a coma, which is probably why I had long hair for 10 years. So it's just the fact of that needle.
I'm thinking of something funny to say and nothing's happening.
Yeah, don't get risque. All right. So.
Well, now I better not say anything at all. I just wanted to make sure we've got everybody covered in the chat. Does anybody feel like they're being ignored in the chat room?
A lot of blue wrenches.
I wish everybody was a blue wrench. Ed Smith says he's feeling ignored. I'm sorry, Ed.
Is he blue?
No.
Oh.
I've never seen him before.
Oh.
Jim says, I'm used to being ignored. I'm married.
Well, I'm not. I've never been. So, and I'm very old. Older than dirt, right?
But are you ignored?
Most of the time, yeah, I ignore myself.
Want to get a cheaper, this is from Raymond, he says, I want to get a quality M.2 drive, but was wondering about the cheaper SSD drive. Usually the M.2s are cheaper.
Yeah. And once you see how fast those are, screamingly fast.
My friend Ron says, I need help thinking up a name for a dog. It's a male Great Pyrenees.
We'll have to noodle on that a while.
Yeah. Just don't call him Diogi.
Yeah.
Proctor wants to know how long you and I have been friends. What time is it? Been about 4.5 hours?
Yeah.
Because I couldn't stand him before. We weren't friends before now.
Was that back in 2019?
Mm-mm.
or 2018.
You said the
2018.
first time we met was when you
we built
filmed the Threadripper build.
Outdoors, yeah. And I kind of went, because I was very bored again, I kind of went through your video thing and I couldn't find that. I don't know whether you changed the thumbnail or whatever.
I don't know why YouTube does that. The original Threadripper build is kind of, when I search Kerry Holzman Threadripper, it doesn't come up even though it's in the title.
And that was really kind of right before summer, because it was a day where it was cool. That had to have been in May, right? I mean, I don't think June would have been too hot, so.
Let's take a look. Let's see.
So I was a fan of his channel, and he kept complaining that squawking that he wished that he had 8 arms, or somebody to help with a close-up of the camera.
Well, here's the video right here.
Oh, okay.
Live AMD Ryzen Threadripper 1950X, M.2 NVMe RAID 0, NZXT H210 Intermex.
I was right. May of 2018?
May 2nd,
Yeah.
2018. So almost 3 years ago.
Yeah.
So I have known you. Well, I guess we had to talk before that, though, right?
Yeah.
But I didn't meet you face to face until
That day.
That day?
Yeah.
Weird. Was that Match.com?
Yeah, I just, for some reason, I thought it was only 2 years, but 3 years, yeah.
Mitch, what is the tech stuff like in Asia compared to here in North America?
Well, I will tell you that what impressed me really the most was their speed of internet. Was just screamingly fast compared to America. And both Kerry and I have in Phoenix what's considered the top tier, short of being a business, where then you're getting into fiber and whatever. But we've got the top. And sure, I mean, it's fast. Do I need it? No, but it's so nice to be able to download things in a split second, or you just type, hit the enter, and the web page is right up. So you have to put a value on your time. But both in Hong Kong and even the month that I spent in Thailand, even in hotel rooms, which I was on Wi-Fi, I wasn't even on Ethernet. I just was blown away by the speeds. And I never did a speed test, but you can just tell that they were just...
You can feel it.
Yeah,
it's
it
obvious.
was just like, wow, is this fast? And so here with, America, I just don't know why. Now it's, we're spread out, we have rural, but in big cities, both Kerry and I, we're all about the hardwire. The only thing that I've got really Wi-Fi is my Nest thermostat, which is nice to be able to control when I'm traveling or this and that, turn it up or turn it down. That's really the only thing on my Wi-Fi. Everything else, I'm hardwired, and I like it. So
I've heard that. I've heard South Korea, I guess, is really fast internet.
Yeah, Japan. When I was there in Japan, it was like, even my brother-in-law that I went with, he's like, man, this is fast internet. I'm like, that's kind of what I'd read, that they're on the cutting edge. Even when I was riding that bullet train going 200 miles an hour.
Even the trains are faster.
From Tokyo to Kyoto. So I had great internet on a train going 200 miles an hour, a bullet train.
Just got to watch out for Godzilla.
Yeah, that's what I kept staring out the window for.
So what do you think? Should we get back to this?
Yeah.
So what we were doing was we were getting ready to put the mounting brackets onto the motherboard to prep for the heatsink to be installed.
But you get the Q-tips, I'll get the mini cam.
Well, I'm not gonna. Well, not yet. So what we've got
the
in this box, we're not gonna get to this until we get the brackets installed here. Now, in this box, you're gonna have the brackets and screws for both AMD and Intel. So there's a lot of extra parts you're gonna have, regardless of what you're building. And there'll be a set of curved brackets, which kind of look like, I like to refer to them as like parentheses. Mm-hmm. And we've got this rear back plate, which of course we're going to use for Intel. This even says right on the back, it says LGA115X. Okay. The X is a variable. It means any number, 1150, 1151, 1155, 1156.
And do those have, or I guess we'll put rubber, because I don't see rubber doodads on that for the back plate. You know what I mean?
Well, we're going to find out here. I'm just going to see what else we've got in the box. It's been a while since I've installed one. This looks like it's almost all AMD mounting stuff right here.
Okay.
Could be wrong. The directions, you'll see we've got several things of directions. Got 3 of them here. This one, let me just bring it up to the camera so people can see. So you don't have to flip through an instruction booklet. You can just, what do I do with the mouse? Pull this up here. Gerald Blackmore has contributed 10 pounds, says, Happy New Year. Hey, thank you, Jared. Happy New Year to you. And Aaron Werner with $5 says, I hardwired my whole entertainment center, even my Fire Stick. I had my Fire Stick hardwired, but I found on Wi-Fi it didn't make any difference. I just left it on Wi-Fi. But hardwired's always better if you can use it. This is the 3 sets of documentation that come with the Noctua cooler. And if you look in the corner, right there, it says AMD in the corner, so we don't need that. And if we look at this one, right here, it says, right up here, this is for Intel. Again, we're going to look at that corner right there. It says LGA 20XX. That's, 2011, et cetera. So we don't need that one. And finally, we've got this one. This says
This side up. No, okay.
LGA 115X. Okay. That's what we're building. It's a socket 1151. And you'll see it's just one page on both sides. Very simple direction. And these will be the steps we're going to do right now. And we're going to get these brackets installed so that way all we have to do is put the thermal compound on once the brackets are in, and then set the heatsink on top of the CPU. And when we get to the part of putting the thermal compound on, that's when we'll clean it. There's no sense cleaning it now because any sort of dust or debris or any accidental touching that could occur would mean we have to clean it again. So we'll wait until we actually are ready to put the heatsink on top, and then we'll clean it. Jerome Lewis with a $10 contribution. Hey, Jerome, thank you for that. I appreciate that. It's a new name in the chat. Make sure Jerome is blue. We've added another blue volunteer.
So directions we're not going to look at, but we'll see. They're there if we need them. Okay.
Well, I will look at them because we have a couple of separate types of brackets here. This is going to be for AMD, I can tell because of how big they are compared to these other ones. These have got to be for Intel. And then we'll get the close-up camera. These are rubber grommets to go on to an additional fan if you wanted to put a fan over here, which we're not going to do. This is very disappointing. This is what they call a screwdriver. Everybody talks about how great Noctua is, but at least Scythe gives you a real screwdriver. Do I have one? I got like 4 at the other house.
Right.
This is very uncomfortable to use. It's just this Allen wrench that's just a standard Phillips, but you need it because you have to go through the center. Not that one.
I could have sworn you've got one here. We built.
Well, you don't actually go through the heatsink. You have to go.
Oh, okay.
You have to go across the side of it, and you have to get above or away from the radiator.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought I had one here too.
I could, we built machines, so other computers here, so I don't know.
I think those went to customers, but I've got 3 at the other house.
Okay.
And I would prefer to use the Scythe driver on the Noctua cooler because this will give you blisters. It's very uncomfortable. Yeah. This isn't a tool I would keep. This is something you use it and throw it into the trash can or keep it in the motherboard box. But there's no reason you just couldn't get a long Phillips screwdriver.
Right.
Because you just need to get above the height of the metal heatsink there. And that's all they're doing. What a shame that they, if this was a cheap cooler, I'd understand it. This is a fairly pricey cooler. It's nearly $100. And the cost of a driver the Scythe Mugen 5 is $48, and they give you the driver, a real screwdriver.
Yep.
and this may be nitpicking, but I mean, if you have to use this and you don't have a choice, it's not comfortable, and it's not ideal. It's just not a good tool. And if I had crappy tools, look, if your surgeon had crappy surgical instruments, you might think that surgeon wasn't very good at their job, but you can only do the best you can with the tools you have. So, something to think about. Stan Aristov contributes £4.99. Hey, thank you, Stan.
Yeah.
Thanks for your continued support. I appreciate that very much. Joseph Hawkins from New Zealand contributes $7 New Zealand. He says, Happy New Year from New Zealand. Hi, Carrie, and all in the chat room. Good to see you, Joseph. Happy New Year to you.
Yeah, Australia and New Zealand are definitely on my bucket list.
Well, yeah, I would love to go there.
You know,
Bacon Queen says, hello and Happy New Year, Carrie and Mitch.
do some scuba diving down there on the Great Barrier Reef. Very nice.
You know what? You can see whale sharks in Australia. Those things look amazing. You can swim right with them. They're not like...
Well, plus my brother, you know, he convinced me that we ought to do the shark cage. Get in the cage, and then they chum the water for the sharks, and you're in that nice steel cage going...
So I'm going to let you ride the motorcycle and do the shark cage.
cage.
But the whale sharks, they're gentle. And they kind of look like they're more whale than shark.
Yeah.
And they're kind of slow, and they're big, and they seem friendly.
And either here this month or next, I will drive 90 minutes to Eloy, which is between Phoenix and Tucson. And every 2 years, I dive out of a plane, and so it's been 2 years. So
I would love to do that.
It's time again. I don't jump out alone. Of course, it's piggyback, but
tandem. Yeah,
it's tandem.
That's how I did it too. I figured if I'm going, the guy with me is going too.
It just you know. The fact that when you land and you've cheated the man with the sickle and the dark black suit, for me, it was just a 2-day high walking around going, I dove out of a perfectly good airplane at 13,000 feet, I guess, yeah. So, like to do it every 2 years. So come with me, Smedley.
I have to say, when I skydived, it was about 2 miles up. It was like 11,000.
Yeah, I was at 13. Yeah,
700 feet. It was a 43-second free fall before the chute opened. It was positively one of the best experiences I ever had in my life, and I wanted to do it again. And that was like 20 years ago, and I just haven't found the time to get around to doing it. But it was a great.
Just exhilarating, really exhilarating. So,
yes, and it sort of goes. It's very chaotic and loud, and then the chute opens, and it's very peaceful and quiet.
Matt says, "Watch that first step, Mitch." Well, when I got on the plane, I kind of looked out the window and I said, "Boy, look at those people down there. They look just like ants." And the guy said, "Those are ants, you idiot. We haven't left the runway." So I'm like, "Oh, okay."
Okay, so it says to mount this for Intel socket 1151.
Okay.
There are no rubber grommets that go on here. It does have a.
Okay.
It looks like there's a little plastic thing on there now.
At least washer, which is against the back of the motherboard.
And it says we're going to need the brackets, which we have right here. And they say on the bracket, it says this side up. That's nice. That's a nice touch. I like that. And then we look through these two bags, and I'll bring these up to the camera so people can see. This bag is with the white and the black. I don't have the right input. Where's my mouse? Okay. So this bag that has the white and the black spacers and these long screws, this is used for AMD builds, so we won't use that. Okay. And this bag here that has the black spacers and these thumb screws, that is what we're going to use on the Intel bracket. Steve Welch contributes $5. Hey, Steve, thank you so much. And Frankie B kicks us off here with a $50 contribution.
Wow.
Says, Happy New Year to you, Mitch and Carrie, and oh, let me say it again. I said it wrong. Happy New Year to you, Mitch and Carrie and Chad.
I went first. What do you think of that? And that,
Well, thank you, Frankie.
yeah, that just about pays for the jump, Carrie, out of the plane.
Keep that up. You get a new Coca-Cola case.
Yeah, okay. All right.
Stan Aristov with £3.99 says, "Thank you, Carrie, for everything." Well, thank you, Stan.
Thank you so much for tuning in. On we're enjoying this Happy New Year's Day, and I'm not because I'm with Carrie, but it's other than that, it's pretty happy. So.
Yeah, well,
There
you
we
know,
go.
we'll get the World Smiles violin out for you.
Okay.
All right, so we got to open this bag. Do I have scissors in here? I have blades and knives and wire cutters. And well, apparently I need to add a screwdriver from
Studio A.
and
Yeah.
and a pair of scissors.
Yeah. Make a mental note of that, which I know for you is tough, but
Again, I'm thinking of something funny, but nothing's happening.
something witty.
Okay, so I'll just use these for now. Just open this up and take these out of here. Whoa.
We need them all, you think?
No. We need the standoffs,
4, right?
or spacers rather. And we need these.
Can you count that high? 4? Yeah. 1, 2. 4 spacers, 4 washers, and 4.
These. Wow,
Right
that's
here.
kind of unique. Yeah.
These are for a socket 2011. The higher end Intel stuff. I'll show the camera here. I'm still trying to think of something funny. I'm like 3 behind right now.
Yeah, don't hurt yourself. All right.
So these, we're
Very
not going to
unique.
use so we're using everything in the bag but these, which I'm having a very difficult time, or my camera is, with focusing, but it's a standoff. And because they don't know how you're going to use this cooler with which Intel chip or which AMD chip, they give you everything you would need, so you don't have to worry about buying the wrong cooler, for the chip you have. One cooler to rule them all, except Threadripper. Won't work on Threadripper. So these parts, this is all AMD stuff. This is all AMD stuff. That's all extra. We don't use it. And I guess I'll keep the scissors in here. And then we've got a bag here, which has our thermal compound, an extra set of fan hangers. Again, if you wanted to add the extra fan. There's a metal case badge in here, which makes your computer go faster. And then there's this adapter that slows the fan down to make it quieter. It's like a resistor, and it keeps the fan from running at full speed. I don't know why you would want to do that, but maybe if you're in production or something. And then these again are the cushions for an additional fan. So the only thing we need out of this bag will be I'll just bring it up to the camera and show folks what we've got here.
The compound.
This is the low noise adapter, which just plugs in line. These are the extra hangers for the fan. We have our tube of thermal compound, and we have our metal case badge. Now, to give you an idea, feel this. Isn't that heavier than expected?
Yeah.
Look at, listen. It's like a nickel.
And
Anyway,
not a buffalo nickel.
that would be worth more, I think.
Yeah.
I mean, as far as case badges go,
Yeah.
That's
Quite impressive.
yeah, it's a high quality case badge. Bring it up to the camera and they can see this. And then it's got double-sided sticky tape on the back of it. And that's probably $10 of the cost of your cooler just into that. keep moving my hand to get the camera to focus. It sees your face, Mitch, and it wants to focus on your face.
I can tell you where to put that case badge, but that's for another build. All right.
Well, I'll look forward to hearing where that might be. I wonder where that could be. Would it be on my monitor?
Indubitably, yeah. There's a big word. All right, so
So with this bag,
you need the compound.
I can reuse this bag because it's got a sticky edge to it here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take all the parts we're not using,
And let me show the chat. You could, you know, some of them you get little where you barely get enough compound for your build, but here
it's not filled.
oh, why didn't you stop me?
I wanted to see where you were going.
So this is one application.
No, it's about 3. It's not. So you can see the plunger's pretty far down.
No, okay.
But it's probably filled.
You could get at least 2 builds out of that. I mean, if you build right.
Well, let's take a look. Let's find out what's behind the sticker.
The blade.
No, I don't want to use a blade because I don't want to actually cut into the syringe.
I see, said the blind man. Yeah.
This is brand new, never been used.
That's, you're not going to use all of it.
No.
But
Like I said, there's probably about 3 applications worth. But you can see the fill line is right at the end of my finger. So this whole tube is empty.
Yeah.
However, that's still a lot more than what some other cooler manufacturers might give you. I think Side gives you more than this.
Only on this channel, chat, do we peek behind the screen. Do we peek behind the screen and show you? There you go.
The Noctua, you know, all these thermal compounds mostly all work alike as far as efficiency goes.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't spend a lot of money on some, I don't know, what's that stuff, Cosmonaut or Aquanaut or...
I think for that Mitch's birthday build, I went on Amazon. I think I spent about 12 beans on a tube that then, you know, we did, and then you kept, you know, the ratings were top notch, and I don't even remember what it was called.
Well, the problem with the ratings, though, is there's sort of this whole sort of self-feeding misinformation of how important it is. I think that, you know, this Noctua NTH1, you can buy this on Amazon, and it'll be a full tube.
Right.
For like $7.99. And you can use it for, I don't know, 10 applications or more. That one looks like maybe 2 in there, now that I'm looking at it. Maybe 3 if you're, I'd say safely 2.
Yeah.
So if you screw it up, you still have enough to wipe it down and do it again. However, it's what I would call good enough. I don't think you're really going to see any difference between this and a more expensive thermal compound. And if a 2 or 3 degree centigrade difference makes a difference in your life, you sound like a very difficult person to make happy. Because for most people aren't riding on the edge like that. Like if my system keeps shutting down, if I could just get it 2 degrees Celsius cooler, then we wouldn't have overheating problems. And it's not going to run any faster if it's already running at 55 C. And because of some really expensive thermal compound, let's just say it runs 2 C cooler, it makes no difference. It will still run exactly the way it did before, and it will still last as long as it was going to last before as far as your thermal compound role plays in that. And it's just a waste of money. This is the problem when you grow up poor. You gotta make everything practical and reasonable. You just throw money at stuff I don't need. Nobody's going to see it. Nobody's going to know what thermal compounds you used. Furthermore, there's thermal compound underneath the other side of this heat spreader. And you know what's under there? The cheapest crap Intel could throw on there. AMD too. They just slap cheap crap on it. So you can spend all the money in the world covering this side of it with really nice thermal compound and then completely ignore the underside of it that has really cheap thermal compound.
Yeah.
And do you know why they do that? Because that's all they need.
Right.
All right. I know, it's crazy, isn't it?
Are you ready to mount the bracket, I guess, on the back.
Yeah, we'll grab the camera over here and we'll get those close-ups. You want to film it, or you want to do the brackets?
No, I'll film it. Let's see how much life is back in that battery.
It should be fine.
Yeah,
it's a
you
big
got
battery.
enough. I mean, when it says 51 minutes, it's
It says there's only 51 minutes.
yeah,
Really?
yeah.
All right. Well, I got a spare battery here just in case we need it. All right, let's go to camera 2 so you guys can see what Mitch is filming. There he is. I guess I can move that out of the shot. They're not paying me. I'll put it over here. Okay. Once again, I got to say that as much as I'm complaining about this crappy screwdriver, this is a good cooler. It's a very good cooler. It's quiet, and it is absolutely the easiest third-party cooler you can install. It's a tower like this. The Mugen 5 is easy. This is even easier. Watch. As I mentioned, with the directions that are here, we're going to follow these steps right there. These are the steps here. Down here. These are the steps we're going to follow. So, okay, so let's start with the back plate. One of the great things about the cooler, same with the side, this is a metal back plate. It's not a piece of plastic, so it's going to last forever. It's not going to get dry and brittle and crack. We're going to turn the motherboard around, and you can see the CPU socket, the back side of it. You see there's 2 screws and 1 screw. Yeah? See the silver? And on the back of the plate, you'll see there's 2 holes and 1 hole. So how does the plate go on? Does it go on this way? It could, but look, it can. But that's not right. I mean, it would work, but it's not going to work well. We want to line the holes with the screws that are there. And the reason those holes are there is to prevent the screws from hitting the back of the plate and causing the plate to not sit completely flush.
Okay.
Then we can turn the board back over and let the weight of the board hold that plate down for us. Notice, excuse me, notice how I pick up the board. I always hold it by the sides. And the next thing we're going to do is we're going to take the brackets. Now these brackets, they could go on this way. 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 There's only one way that works. Notice, if you can see, it says this side up. Let's see if I can get it where it's right side up on the camera. It says this side up right there.
Okay.
And if we look at the documentation, it's telling us to use the spacers. That's these right here. And it wants us to put the spacers down over these screws. Then, so the side that says this side up, that's where this post is coming through. That post is threaded. It's basically a screw. And these right here, these are these screws that we're going to tighten down are going to thread into that.
Okay.
So we know we're going to put this cooler on so the fan is blowing air towards me, towards the I/O shield.
Mm-hmm.
It's not going to be this way. It's not going to be this way, right? It's not going to be backwards. It's not going to be that way. So because I know that, and because I can, without looking at the directions, I can see where the 2 screws are, right? There's one there and there's one there. So I know this bracket is not going to go on like that, because then it would require the fan to go on 90 degrees away from where we need it to be. So we're going to set this down just like that. And notice the curve and the direction of the bracket. And we'll do the exact same thing on the opposite side. And these holes are long and narrow because these can fit in the different socket, like if this was a socket 1155 or 1156 or 1150, the screws are slightly wider. And so you wouldn't have to use different brackets that way. By having it slotted like that, it will fit regardless of which 115 whatever socket you're using. The next thing we're going to do is grab these thumb screws and we're just going to tighten them down on top. What makes this so easy is on other third-party coolers that we've installed on this channel. A lot of times these screws that are coming through, you have to put those all in manually, and you mentioned the little washers. You got to prep all the back plate. As I mentioned, that little T-bar that's on the heatsink itself is something you've got to put on, and you can put it on upside down. It can lead to mistakes. So with Noctua doing most of the work for you, there's less for you to get wrong. And then such that less work to do, it takes less time, and as a result, the cooler process of the installation process of the cooler is much, much easier. So using this driver, which just sucks, you tighten these down.
Show them how you're spinning it. Whee!
I would just use a regular screwdriver. This just hurts. It's not comfortable. And because it doesn't have a plastic handle, it's just a piece of conductive metal, which is not ideal in any electronics work, to work without a rubber or plastic handle on the driver. But Noctua was clearly not a tool maker, because if they made tools, if they were like this, they'd be some of the worst tools on the market. Make these a little bit more than snug, get them nice and tight on there. And now we can clean the top of that CPU off. So here we've got that 99% rubbing alcohol, which has the foil on it that I'm going to have to be ironic if I cut myself opening this. Okay. Get this all out of the way. Good enough. And then I'm going to need a cotton ball or a Q-tip, something to clean the CPU it's called a heat spreader. This piece right here, it's called a heat spreader. Because I've been touching it, I want to get the oils off of it. And if I look down here, I've got a little of everything. I've got Q-tips, I've got cotton balls. Well, let's grab the Q-tips. I haven't opened these yet. These are standard, everyday, ordinary Q-tips. They're not special for electronics or anything like that. Ooh. And what I'll do is I'll take the Q-tip, dip it into the bottle, tap it, get the excess off, and we're just going to go back and forth, up and down, get into the edges, the nooks and the crannies. Look at the end of the Q-tip. Didn't even look that dirty, did it? I'm going to do it again. I didn't expect that much stuff to come off. See, it's invisible to the naked eye, and quite honestly, if we didn't clean it, it would still run just fine. But this may make it run a degree or two cooler, and you might say, well, Carrie, I thought you said that's not a big deal. Well, it's not a big enough deal to spend a bunch of money on excessive thermal compound. But since you should have the Q-tips and the rubbing alcohol anyway, this should cost you pretty much next to nothing. And if this was all brand new out of the box and it wasn't a used part and I wasn't touching it, you wouldn't need to do this at all. And that looks good to me. What do you think, Mitch?
Meh.
Meh? You're tough.
It works, yeah.
All right. Now, to put the thermal compound on, this is the part that I find to be the most humorous when it comes to the portion of the internet community, in that people really seem to think that how I apply thermal compound has an impact on them in their life, which is really weird. All I intend to do is show you how I work, not to ask you if you agree with it. You see, I know whether or not what I do works because I have bills to pay, and if customers stop coming back to me, or if I'm spending too much time on warranty repairs, I'm not going to be able to maintain my business. So I don't need somebody on the internet to tell me whether or not they approve of the method. I'm just sharing with you how I do it, and if you choose to dismiss the value of that, that's fine, that's your right. But I'm certainly not telling you you have to do it the way I do it. I'm simply showing you the way I do it, which is I've got a nitrile glove on, not a rubber glove, not a latex glove, but nitrile. And we're going to put a little bit of this stuff here. See, we barely used any of that. There's still quite a bit.
Yeah.
So there still might be 3 applications.
Those, yeah.
That should be enough. So we'll put the cap back on it. And we'll keep that. Now I'm going to use this clean, new nitrile glove, and I'm going to finger paint the thermal compound across the heat shield, or the internal heat spreader as it's called, to ensure that there's 100% coverage across the entire heat spreader. If you just put the dab and you squish it, you can't see. You know if you got too much, too little. I mean, if you got too much, it'll leak and it's a big mess. And then what I like to do is I like to dab at it. It gives these little peaks and valleys and makes it a little tacky. And then that also prevents any air bubbles, and it still allows the compound to kind of squish out. And if I have any extra compound like on the frame, I'll just use a spare finger on the glove to wipe it up. And then just take the glove and turn it inside out as you take it off. And then that way it keeps with this thermal compound, when it gets on your hands, you can wash your hands under the sink for an hour. This stuff doesn't come off. It will eventually, but it's pretty tacky. So that was my stomach. Must be time for some food. Okay, so now attaching the tower is easy as removing that plastic cover. Notice I did that just before I'm ready to install. It is factory polished in the bottom to ensure the best thermal transfer. The fan, as I mentioned, is going to go towards the RAM, and I need to take the fan off because there's a screw under here we need to turn. So this fan has to come off for a moment. And I just pull down on the fan hanger and pull it away. Just pull it away. There it goes. We'll set that aside. Then we're going to just gently place this right on top, right like that. And, well, my stomach is pretty loud. Wait on that. And then I'm going to just start each side a couple of turns.
We've got a ton of videos showing this, right? Not
Well,
with this cooler, but
it's the same process. But what you want to do when you do this part of it, you sort of tighten the screws down equally. If you tighten down one side too much, it bends the other way, and it may not sit flush on top of your CPU, and then you might be wondering why your system's running hot. So that started both screws. So I wanted to kind of give you an angle so you can see what I'm doing here. So I might go like 1, 2, 3, 4, and then come over here. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then I'll do 1, 2, 3, 4. And just, you know, kind of eyeball it as far as trying to make it tightening down as similarly as possible. We don't want to tighten one side completely. That's all.
Because then it would be cattywampus.
Maybe,
Yeah.
maybe. It'd be very difficult to tell. And I do have a video where I demonstrated that, where we took the, was a water pump and the system was running hot and the thermal compound was factory applied and it had like a little pattern on the thermal compound which had not been disturbed, which clearly means the thermal compound never touched the CPU. And that would affect the cooling, right? So these screws do come to a dead stop. I don't know if you can tell, but they won't turn anymore, so you don't have to worry about over tightening. That's all there is to that. Then the fan, I want the fan to go on with the way the airflow is going to go on these computer fans is where this center is that does not spin. You see when the fan spins? See that center doesn't spin? But on this side, the center does spin. So this side is going to draw the air in. This is the side the air goes out. Sometimes there are little arrow indicators to show you the direction of the blades and the direction of the air, but you could just look at it and tell. So I know the air is going to come out of this side. I know I want the air to blow that way. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to set the fan down with the, I want the fan power cable to be as short as possible, because it's going to go to somewhere, it goes over there. So I'm going to put the fan in just like this. I push it down or align it so the top of the fan is at the top of the heatsink. Now watch this part right here, Mitch. You see this?
Yep.
I'm going to pull that and it just kind of goes into a groove right there. And then the same thing on
The other side.
on my side. If anything, I can raise this up just a little bit. Bring it to right about. This is a lot easier to do before we put it in the case. Something like that ought to be good. And then the CPU fan, you'll see that we've got a bunch of fan headers. Remember I said on these boards, when I said the fan at the top of that computer case gets in the way of all the plugs at the top of the board? Well, this is what I'm talking about. And the CPU fan is going to go on one of these. It's going to be the one that's a different color. See how that one's a different color? That's going to be the CPU fan, but you can always check your motherboard manual to verify that. And this is a 4-pin fan. It's got little grooves here on the plug, and there are grooves on the header, and that will align and push straight down. And they just have that little tiny bit of excess, which stinks because I don't really have enough slack to tie it up and make it look pretty. So we'll just leave it there. Then these are like your, for RGB lighting here, another fan header here. Like if you had an all-in-one pump where you put another fan, you had 2 fans, and another fan header here. This is our 8-pin CPU power connector, EPS connector here. And then coming around this side, where Mini ITX boards can be a bit different, is this is usually down on the bottom right corner is where this connector is, which is your, there's 2 connectors here. This one right here, this is 2 rows of pins. That's your power switch, reset switch, hard drive LED, power LED. Then above it, there's 4-pin is like for a speaker. These are usually laid out in a single row on a micro ATX or ATX motherboard. On a Mini ITX, they're moved. Then this right here, this looks like a USB header. This is 4 SATA ports, and then this is a USB 3.0 header for the case. Ports on the case, right there. Then coming around over here, This looks like our front audio header here, and what appears to be another USB 2 connector here, and what appears to be like ARGB, maybe. I'm not sure what that is. And again, this will all be detailed in your motherboard manual. And if you don't have your motherboard manual, go to the motherboard manufacturer's website and download the PDF. All we have to do now is add our RAM. So if we open up these two slots, these two on this side don't open. Do you know why these don't open? On some motherboards, these do open.
Right.
The reason they don't on this motherboard design is because when we put a graphics card in this slot, and let's say that graphics card was up there like that, you couldn't open those. They'd hit the back of the graphics card. So they just keep them locked down and only this side opens. Here I've got the T-Force Vulcan RAM, which has never been opened. I'm going to have to cut the tape on it. People ask me, how often do I get DOA parts? We do these builds live, and you see I'm cutting the tape on the products that we're using. And how often do you see me get a DOA part? It's very rare. Okay. Bend the plastic to get the RAM out. Don't bend the RAM. Bend the plastic. You'll see there's a notch. And there's a notch right there. And you're going to turn it. We're going to start with the socket closest to the CPU, because if I start here, trying to get the other module in is going to be difficult. So work on the inside towards the outside. And we'll do the same thing with the remaining module. We line it into the track. Let it go down gently. You'll see I'm not using any force. Make sure it's lined up correctly. Then using thumbs, push down one corner and then the other corner. So that's 32 gigs of RAM with our 2 terabyte storage under there. Our 10700 processor, 10700K with our Noctua cooler. It's all prepped and ready now to be installed into the case. So what do you think, Mitch?
Yeah.
All this can go over here. And then the documentation that's left over and the spare parts that are left over will go in the motherboard box. So whoever gets this computer will be able to upgrade and modify and repair it in endless years ahead. As long as you have all the extra parts, then your upgrade options are practically limitless for any socket that cooler is compatible with, or any other options that we're not using on the motherboard that we potentially could use. So we'll set this aside, and then I'll get the case again, which I set right over here. Now, trying to put this connector on right here can be very difficult. I'm sorry, this connector on right here may be difficult because of the heatsink being here, but it looks like in this design, I'm not going to have that problem. Something to think about when you're building, though, is that you might want to do that before you secure the board down on some case designs. With this case design, it looks pretty straightforward. I'm going to lay the case down like so, and I'm going to place the motherboard right inside like this. Now look at what's happening. You see that bar got slightly in the way, but you can see I worked around it. And we want to align, like bring this around this way, Mitch. See the I/O shield? We go back and down. We want to make sure that that's aligned properly. Remember that I/O shield is built onto the board, so we're just making sure that the metal is aligned properly with the hole there. It's pretty simple. And then we want to, if you bring it back up, we want to make sure that the holes, the mounting holes on the board, are aligned with the standoffs underneath. And if we go back to the motherboard boxes where we put all the mounting screws that we took out of that cardboard box early on, that's going to have the screws we need to mount the motherboard. So let me just find where we put that. Right here. So let's just dump this out and we'll show you what's in there. This is for moving motherboard standoffs. This is like a little socket that you can put a Phillips driver on one side and the motherboard standoff socket. I'm not sure why we've got that, since all Mini ITX builds are the same. What is this? I don't know, I have to look at the documentation. Shouldn't need any of this. So it's either going to be these screws or these screws, I think. These are fan screws for adding, remember I showed you on the front of the case you can add more fans? They give you the screws to do that. And these are just standard hex head computer screws. I'm not quite sure which ones are used on this case, so I'm going to take a guess. But I'm going to guess it's these coarse threaded short screws. It may not be. We'll find out. If they require the fine threaded screws, these won't even start. You know, when I try to tighten them down, they just won't be anything for them to bite into. I'm going to grab my power driver here, which is kind of a bold thing to do when I don't know for a fact I'm using the right screw. Let's just see if that works. Perfectly.
Isn't that amazing?
Typically the coarse threaded screws. Every once in a while I run into a case manufacturer that uses the fine threaded screws. If I were to try the fine threaded screws first, what would happen is they would just spin and never tighten. Then they're a burden to get out, you know, to get them to back out. And you go, okay, I got to use the coarse ones. And if it's the coarse ones into a fine threaded socket, then they might just start like a quarter turn and then they kind of tilt to one side or the other and get stuck. As I mentioned, Mini ITX boards, they all use 4 screws, 1 in each corner. I just did the 2 easiest corners. And now I need to bring this over towards me so I can see. There's 3 out of 4, 1 more to go. Of course, I saved the most difficult one for last. That's going to be into this corner where you need a really long screwdriver to get down in there. And let me grab a light. What do I do with the light? Now, a couple of things that I'm considering right now is in order for me to hook this rear exhaust fan up, the header is under here. It's way back. It's above the heatsink. It's way up there. Remember when I said that when they had that fan here, it gets in the way? Yep. This is what I'm talking about. And then, of course, we've got the 8-pin EPS power connector right down in here. Mm-hmm. So I can do one of 2 things. I can take the motherboard back out, or I can take this fan out. If I take out this rear fan, I have a lot more room to get my hand in here, and I can probably plug the EPS connector in and plug the fan in and then put the fan back. I think that's the easiest thing. Or I can take the heatsink back off, so I have a lot of room to work up in there. It's a bunch of different angles I can go at to take care of this problem. And I want to do the thing that's the easiest.
You You need another pair of those forceps. Like
Well, I would prefer to not use them at all. This case is
right.
pretty small and it's pretty straightforward to work on. So what I want to do right now is I'm going to take this rear fan out, because I think that's all I have to do. It's pretty straightforward. It's 4 screws, not difficult to align, not difficult to install or remove. It's not like I got to work around a bunch of stuff. Right? So that's the 4 screws there. And then should be able to just lift this straight out. Notice how it comes from the factory with the cable, the power cable coming out of the bottom right corner, closest to the edge of where it's going to be exiting the back of the motherboard tray and into the wire management area right here. Slide that right out of there. Now, I should be able to grab the 8-pin CPU power connector, which is in the bundle of cables that we have not untied yet, that are on the back of the power supply. So I'm going to take a minute just to untangle all this. This large one, this big connector, it's going to go in sort of right through here. See that? And if we come around to this side, you might get a better angle of what I'm doing here. Put these two together. And this clip always goes towards the outside edge of the board. It's going to go, can you see right up in there? It's got to go right up next to the RAM. It's a tight squeeze. So I'm going to grab all the slack I've got for right now in order to get the, because I have to sort of twist and turn this a little bit. And once it's plugged in, then I can push all this slack out. And you see how this red piece kind of covers that up. And then going to what I was originally going for was to grab the 8-pin CPU power cable, or EPS power cable as it's called. And let's see. That's for a graphics card that we're not adding to this build today. This one right here says CPU right on there. And then remember I said there's cable management tracks? We're going to use these a little later, but that's where that will eventually go in to hide the cable. Go ahead and lift the camera up quite a bit higher. I want you to get, we'll lower the camera but point it at the top, because we're going to take this cable and we're going to feed it right in through there. That's going to keep our cabling looking nice and clean. And then if I come around so that you can see this, it's nice to have a camera guy to show us. If you come around this way, once again, that clip is going to go on the outside edge of the board. Now, some motherboards will have that clip go the other way, but most boards, these clips generally go towards the edge of the board. It is a tight fit. And if you have large hands and you're having a hard time reaching in there, you can always take this heatsink off. It's 2 screws. You take the fan off, take the 2 screws out, and you don't necessarily have to reapply your thermal compound again, as long as you're not touching it or manipulating it and it's going right back on the way it was. It's a pretty simple thing to do, but I think I can get away with it. So again, it's a difficult thing to film, it's a difficult thing to see in person, but what I've done is I put this 8-pin power connector up there, and then I will pull the slack out now, but you will definitely want that slack while you're installing. Then I can run the cable right into this little cable management track. You can see how that's going to look really nice right up here. See that? Now the rest of these cables, there's really no other power cables I need to hook up on this build. All these are extra. Now, some of you might say, well, you should have gone modular. You wouldn't have all the cabling. But here's the thing. I have this big pocket right here, and I can shove all these cables into the pocket, right? These are front port umbilicals. We need those. I'm going to hook those up. But look, I can jam all that just like that. And you can't see it from this side. It's nice and clean. In fact, this will get pushed back even more this way. So even then, you're just simply not going to see it. In fact, pull the camera back a little bit. You see it's a nice clean belt. Take a look. Almost looks like there's no cables in there at all. I do have the front port umbilicals. Okay, so as I mentioned, NZXT on a lot of their cases, they have your front power switch, reset switch, everything built into one connector instead of separating them out the way you're traditionally used to seeing it. And as you can see, it says F panel right there on the cable. And as I mentioned, on this motherboard, that connector is right over here. I have to get my flashlight out to see again. Kind of glad I took the front off and I can come at it from a different angle than I normally would. Let's see, where's our front panel? It looks like it's right there. There's a pin that's blocked on the end of the plug, and it's just going to go right, where is it? Way up here, right up next to the power connector. This one's a little tricky because there's another connector right behind it. I don't know how well you can see that. But that's just a friction fit. You push it on, and again, once it's on, then we can pull the slack back out to make it look good. And then we've got the USB 3.0 plug that looks like this, and that's also going to go in through this hole on the side. And if you come around here, Mitch, you'll see there's a little notch on this plug. That notch goes towards the edge of the board, and it's going to go, you probably can't see that very well. It's dark, and it's a tight fit. Remember, these Mini ITX systems, they don't give you a lot of room to work in, so there's barely enough room for my hand, let alone the camera. But it's a standard USB 3 plug, the same as any other motherboard. And that's seated. And then we've got, this is a USB, this is for the USB-C, this weird funky looking plug. I don't know if this motherboard affords us that connector. Let's take a look in here and see. I don't think this motherboard's got it. Future motherboards and current higher end boards have that feature. So that means our Type-C connector is not going to work, which is fine. I don't use it anyway. But in the future, it's something you're probably going to want, and you can upgrade that when you upgrade your board. The last connector I've got is the front port audio connector. And front port audio is usually on the lower left part of the motherboard, usually down in here somewhere. So what I want to do is I want to run that cable in through the holes here. So I'll turn the case around, find that front port audio connector, and I want to route it like so. Wrong one, Carrie. This is the one I want right here. We'll just run it up through that cable management hole, turn the case, pull it through, and somewhere in here, my flashlight has died. Right there is our front port audio. Once again, I know it's not a great
Angle.
yeah, it's dark and it's tiny. And then I pull the slack through, and that's everything hooked up. And you know what that means, Mitch. We can fire this bad boy up and see what's going to happen. Let me switch over to camera 1 so Mitch can get a break here. He's all tangled up. You're clear. The last thing I've got to do is put the fan back in, and I'll just take care of that right now. With the fan out of its own way, this can go onto any fan header. I don't have to use the ones up here. I just would prefer to, because it's the shortest distance for the cable to run, and that's going to make our
So your little light died, Lyman?
the battery died. Yeah. But what I'm going to do to get this hooked up, I'm just going to rest the fan in there. I'm not going to secure it because I don't want it in my way, right? And then I'm going to just align the fan header with the plug, which again is a difficult thing for me to see, and it would be even more difficult for me to show.
You need a light?
You got a light?
Yeah.
I'll get another flashlight in the other room.
Can you see it?
Yeah, that's not really helping. Let me grab my other light. Now, a pair of long needle nose pliers could help in this case. Getting the heatsink out of the way could help, but not having the fan there may be all I need. I can also come at it from the backside as well. If you can bring it just a little bit more. Yeah, right there is good. Thank you. And that's on. What I'm going to do with the slack is I'm going to feed the slack through the wire management hole, so it makes sort of a loop.
Okay.
So we're kind of going out of the hole and then right back into the same hole we went out of in order to just strictly to hide the cabling. That's all. If I can grab it. There it is. Now I can put the fan back in with the screws, and then we can test fire this bad boy and see if it's going to work. I'm going to step around so people can watch. Thank you, though. Okay. What sounds good for dinner, Mitch? Wings?
I'm thinking a nice bowl of boiled sheep brains. What do you think?
Oh, it just ran out.
Just Mitchy like wingy.
So remember, the direction of the fan is very important. We want to make sure that the air is going to be blowing out in the same direction. It's going to be brought in from the front of the heatsink, out the back of the heatsink, into this fan, and out the back of the case. All the airflow is moving in one direction. I want to put this up on its feet. Now remember, I can still put the face back on it here, but I don't want to because I want to show you guys the best look of what everything's going to look like before it's all pretty, which is basically make sure it all works first, then worry about making it look pretty after that. You can see how this is the cable. I said I looped the extra cable from the fan. And once again, that can go into the track, and I'll take care of that later. Assuming everything works, we're effectively done. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna face this towards you, and I'm gonna grab a power cable and an HDMI cable and a keyboard and mouse, and we'll give this a shot. What do you think?
Very exciting.
So power supply is in the off position. I've got a power cable right here, it just so happens. I've got an HDMI cable right over here, and we'll grab that. Again, we're using built-in video that comes with the Intel CPU, which is more than adequate for office work and everyday work. Not so great for gaming, unless your idea of gaming is solitaire.
Or video editing.
It will do light gaming.
Yeah.
Did you say video editing?
It won't. Well, it'll do it, but
It will do it.
It
I've
will
edited
do it.
some videos with built-in.
Okay.
It did actually quite well on 1080. I'm going to unplug camera 2. We're going to use camera 2's input over here. And I need a keyboard and mouse. I know I've got one around here somewhere. We can use this one right here. This will work. And just for fun, I'll plug the USB dongle for the wireless keyboard and mouse on the front USB just to test that and make sure it's working. Now, here's where things get exciting. If I minimize us, let's put us like in a corner. What am I doing? I'm on the wrong input. Cam 1. Keep running into things on the desk. Cam 1. We'll go right up here like that. And then we'll turn on camera 2, which should be the desktop. It'll say no signal because the machine's off. I'll flip the switch on the power supply to on. You want to hit the button? So the light around the button came on. The rear fan is turning, but the CPU fan is not turning. Oh, there it goes. It's just now turning. Your first boot is going to be a little slow. Be patient as it trains the RAM and determines what CPU you've got. And if I get rid of us for a second, Mitch, we'll turn off camera 1 so we can read the screen. It tells us, you know, new CPU or whatever's been detected. Press F1. So we hit F1. Obviously, the USB up here is working. We're into the BIOS. This is a good time to see if there is a new BIOS. We could certainly do that now. Let's take a look. What BIOS version do we have? I can make the screen bigger. Looks like, if we move over here, we're on version 0211.
Okay.
Right, that's what that says. 0211, that's pretty old. And what I'll do is I'm gonna go over to the other computer that's online, obviously. Oops, that's not what I want. I want to do this button here. And I'm gonna go to, let's go back to, well, just leave that there for a minute. And this is an ROG, wrong keyboard, ROG Strix B460-I Gaming, and I'll put the word BIOS. And the first link that comes up on Google will take us right to rog.asus.com. I click on support, and then I click on driver utility tab. It wants me to select my operating system, which is Windows 10 64-bit, and the BIOS is version 1003, released on December 15th, 2020. It's just a couple weeks ago.
Well, I noticed you're on drivers and tools. What if you kicked over to BIOS and firmware?
Well, you have to go to drivers and tools to see BIOS and
oh,
firmware,
there you go.
right? But yeah, you can click on BIOS and firmware, and it'll also show you the same thing. So I'm going to download that file,
Okay.
and I need to grab an empty flash drive, which I have one in here. Just a small ADATA flash drive, and I'll plug it in here to the streamer because that's what I'm downloading the file on. I realize everybody's just seeing the BIOS screen right now, but I'm going to just grab that BIOS file, and I would rather do this now before I install Windows, just to ensure I don't have any compatibility problems during the install because the BIOS I've got is pretty old.
Okay.
I'm going to take the file I just downloaded. It's going to have an extraction. It'll be a zip file, and I've got to extract it. So I'll double click on it. I'll extract the file. And I'll take the .cap file, which is what Asus uses, and just copy that onto the flash drive. It's the only file I need.
Okay.
And it copies very, very quickly. It's already done. Then I'm going to go to, let's see, I got to go back and take the flash drive out from the back of the streamer. I'm going to plug it into the back of the new machine we just built. Any USB port is fine. So just plug it into the back here. And now I can pay back attention to what everybody's looking at. And we'll go over here to Tool, Asus Easy Flash 3 Utility, enter. There is the file I just downloaded right there. Click on it. You want to read the file? Yes. Do you really want to update the BIOS? Yes. And now it says it's processing. You see the bottom of the screen, it's got the progress bar. Now just leave everything alone.
Be patient. Yeah.
Don't touch anything, don't play with the keyboard, don't play with the mouse, just leave everything alone. In the meantime, I'm going to throw some of this extra stuff back in the motherboard box, like we talked about. And this will take about 3 minutes, maybe 5 minutes. Just be patient, allow it to complete without interruption. The worst thing that can happen is that you would reset, shut off, or lose power to the computer. So for the next couple minutes, just want to leave it alone.
Now that date that we see here, 11/30, was that when the BIOS came out, that particular version of the
Yeah,
BIOS?
you might notice a discrepancy between the date that the website says 12/15 and the date the BIOS says is 11/30, but they're within 2 weeks. And I'm not exactly sure why that happens, but it's pretty common practice among manufacturers to do that. The important part isn't the date. The important part is the version number. You'll see the version is 1003.
Yeah.
And if you look at the top middle of the screen, it says our current version is 0211. That's a lot of newer BIOSes. But I've had this motherboard sitting in a box for about 4 months, 3 or 4 months, which is why the BIOS is so old. You know, you cut the tape on the box yourself.
Yep.
So whatever BIOS they had at the time when it was manufactured those months ago is what this has. If you were to buy this board today, well, 2 weeks is probably not enough time, but within a couple more weeks, any new boards you buy will probably have 1003 already on them. And then while that's running, I'm going to look for my Windows 10 installation flash drive, which I have right here. And I'll plug that in. Once this reboots, we're going to give it a minute here. It's just finished. And again, I'm not touching anything. It says update successfully. I didn't touch anything. It just did this all on its own. And it's recycling the power on the machine. And it may do this a couple of times. So we just want to wait until it gets us back into the BIOS. See, it's still updating. See that? BIOS is updating the Aura LED firmware. Do not shut down or reset the system to prevent system boot up failure. Now it's restarting again on its own. I haven't touched anything. And we're back to pressing F1 here. And if we go over to the current BIOS version,
there it is.
It says 1003 right up there. Now I'm going to unplug the flash drive that I just had the BIOS on because we're done with that. We don't need it anymore. And I'm going to plug in the Windows 10 flash drive. And there doesn't appear to be a reset button on this case. So I'm going to hold the power button in until the machine shuts off. I'm going to hit the power button again. The machine's going to turn back on. And now the only thing it can boot to is that USB flash drive of Windows 10's installation media, and it should just start automatically. We're going to find out right now. I've not made any changes to the BIOS. It's all default from the factory. And we're just going to sit here a minute and see what the machine does.
Come on, magic circle. Come on, man.
We're just waiting for it to, there it is. So the only thing it can be loading from right now is that flash drive. Our hard drive or solid state drive is brand new. It's not formatted, it's not partitioned. So here we go through the standard process you guys have seen me do a million times before. We're going to hit next, hit install now. We're going to be using Windows 10 Pro because that's what I have keys for. So when it comes up and asks me, I'm going to say I don't have a product key. So it says, well, if you don't have a product key, what product key are you going to have? I'm going to have one for Windows 10 Pro.
Next.
Accept the end user license agreement because you don't have a choice. Hit next. Do custom install.
And watch how fast.
There's drive 0 right there. It's 1900 gigabytes. That's basically 2 terabytes. And all I have to do is hit next.
Watch how fast.
What? Did you just see that?
Yeah.
Here we go. This is going to be one of the fastest installs of Windows 10. And this machine is dead quiet. Can you hear it?
No.
This is a lot
but
quieter.
I have tinnitus. Just kidding.
I have nine-itis.
Yeah.
We're already at 32, 34%, 36.
Oh, I remember the old days where this just used
Insert
to take,
disk 1.
This just used to take hours.
And
you know.
one of the reasons this is fast isn't just because it's a fast system. It's a fast flash drive.
Mm-hmm.
This isn't a cheap flash drive. I could buy cheaper flash drives, but they wouldn't move this quickly.
So what's the current, are we 3.1?
3.2.
Already up to 3.2.
It's been that way for a while. It's mostly a renaming thing. Now we're ready for our first boot.
I mean,
Look at that.
That was literally under 3 minutes.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, I mean.
Now when it reboots, it no longer needs that Windows 10 flash drive anymore. Everything it needs has now been copied to the local solid state drive, and it's going to complete the rest of the install with the local files. But I'm going to leave the flash drive installed just because.
Until you see probably the initial screen or whatever.
Yeah, it's just kind of out of sight, out of mind. There's no reason for me to, there's no benefit for me to take it out. There's no harm for me to leave it in. So just being lazy.
Yeah.
Look at how fast that's moving.
I mean, NVMe is just, folks, it's just the way to go.
Yep.
You get spoiled on just how screamingly fast it is.
What should we call this? I got to give it, well, I'll just put the name user in there, I guess.
Yeah. Little Red, yeah.
Little Red Corvette.
Little Red.
This part here takes just about as long as the install part did.
And when in the spring, like you said, 2 times a year we get a big Windows update.
Yeah.
Is it April? I forget. It's not March. Is it April or?
It's usually, well, it's dated the 3rd, right? 1903. Then it was 2004. So it's usually March, April.
Is when we'll get
Yeah,
one.
and then it'll be September, October.
Is the one in the spring the big one, and then the one in the fall is just kind of
It's the
so
polishing.
So the spring one is usually the
big one.
big one, yeah.
Yeah, and in the fall, well, it used to be a big one every time, and Microsoft was creating too many problems. They were releasing new versions before they fixed the problems with the previous one. So now they decided we'll release the major one in the spring. And then the sort of the polishing in the fall. And then that's the routine from that point forward. So again, it's rebooting itself. When it did that restart, it did it on its own. We're just sitting here watching it like you guys at home are. And we should be asked for a username here in just a minute. You'll see the power light on top of this case is also the hard drive LED. You see how it's kind of flashing on and off. Okay, United States. Yes. US. Skip a secondary language keyboard. I'm not going to connect to Wi-Fi. Say I don't have internet. Even if you do, tell it you don't. Until you create a local account. Otherwise, it'll force you to create an online account, which I don't want. You can always add an online account later, but if you start with internet access, it forces you. It removes the local account option. We're going to say continue with limited setup. That was down there. And I'll put the name user in here and hit next. No password. I basically turn everything off but location settings. I like location settings to set my time zone automatically. Also, if I want to find, where's a restaurant near me, I can just literally type, where's it near me? And it can pull my location without me having to tell it where I am. I'm going to say not no on that. And here we go, getting ready to get to the desktop. And I suppose while we're waiting, we can turn camera 1 back on. People can see us again. And we'll take a look at what we're seeing, what we're missing in the chat room here. A couple of contributions I've missed. David Smith contributes £5. He says, hey, been ages since I've been able to catch you live. Still loving your builds and sage advice. Right on. Thank you, David. So that was it. We didn't miss much there. Fireworks. Yep. Troll McTrollington mentions the 11th gen Intel CPUs are supposed to be coming out. It probably won't be till March or April. And then the 12th generation should be following in the fall. So that I don't think the 11th gen is going to be long-lived. It's going to be quickly replaced. So I'm not sure going to 11th gen would make sense. Depends what you're coming from, I guess. But it might be worth waiting, skipping the 11th gen altogether. Okay, so that's brought us into the desktop. And what I would do from this point is I would now turn on the internet, go to Windows Update, get my Windows updates, activate Windows 10 with the product code, which of course requires internet, and then clean up all the messy cables we've got here. We can go full screen back on camera 1. There we are. And that's our build. Look at how pretty that is. It's all black and red. Yep. And of course, the prettifying it is just going to be the cable management, putting the front back on. Real easy to put that metal frame back in, the filter, and then push the cover back on. I'm going to leave the fan out of the top. Like I said, you can see how that gets really crowded up there with that fan. Yep. So that's going to just be left out. We're done with the Windows 10 flash drive, so that can go over there. And that's today's build, a Mini ITX build. If people are interested in buying this, certainly reach out to me. I'll sell it to you at cost. You can click on all the parts in the parts list, add it to your cart, you'll see the total cost.
Very quiet, yep.
This is going to be a very reliable machine. If you wanted to, as I mentioned, turn it into a gaming machine, just add a video card. If you go to a 30 series card, you want to replace that with at least a 750 watt power supply.
Okay.
If you want to go with a 16 series card, that power supply is fine.
Yep.
If you want it as is, it's, once it's cleaned up, it'll be a great machine for browsing the web, light video editing it'll do, light photo editing it'll do. Certainly anything with Microsoft Office, Word, Excel, any of that, Outlook, Gmail, it's going to fly. And fully upgradable, fully repairable, all the modular parts. It's just that it's Mini ITX. So when it comes to the motherboard, it's a little special. But other than that, everything else is factory, standard industry parts.
Yeah, it's a fun build.
Yeah, and as you can see, with this case, I just noticed you could access the M.2 in the back without having to remove the motherboard.
Okay.
I did a different build with a different case that was Mini ITX. And the case that we used was a Leon Lee case, and you couldn't get to the drive. But it was also a different motherboard and a different case. This motherboard and this case line up really good to access that second M.2 if you wanted to. And as for the other parts that are in the box, you can certainly look at the manual. It's clearly nothing we need. We've got everything running the way we need it to run, and very happy with it.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Yeah. I don't know about you, but my stomach thinks my throat's been cut.
I am starving.
Starving
it's
like
almost
Marvin.
5 o'clock here, so it's a good time to wrap up. It's 4 hours.
Yeah. and boom, you got little red right here.
Yeah,
So-
we chatted for about 90 minutes of that, so it's pretty fast.
what do you mean we? All right.
I don't need you to talk.
Yeah, okay.
My thanks everybody for joining us today. Any final questions, please shout them out right now. Otherwise, we'll check your comments later on. Hope everybody had a great New Year's Day and what's left of it.
Yeah.
If there's some left of it, depending on where you are in the world. It was a good way to start out the year.
Yeah. Thanks so much for joining us on St. Patty's Day. That's how off I am.
Shane
New Year's Day.
Another great video. Stealth Mode says, thank you, Carrie and Mitch. Deepak says, hey, Carrie, have you played Cyberpunk? No, I haven't had any time. Tony Wallow says, night all and Happy New Year. Hey, same to you, Tony, and thank you for your recent contribution as well. And yeah, that's going to wrap it up.
Yeah.
Well,
Okay.
thanks for hanging out.
Yeah.
Mitch. Good to have you.
Yeah. My hangover's gone. What do you think of that?
I told you. I'm
Okay.
You just needed a little Carrie medicine.
Yeah.
Little Carrie.
There you go. Keyword there is little. All right.
I was going to go somewhere with that,
okay.
and then I stopped, but I see you picked up the ball and ran, took the baton.
So thanks again, guys, for watching us on this New Year's Day. He or we, I mean, Carrie's got a lot of interesting builds coming up, and yeah.
And I'll revisit this once I get the cabling fixed up, and I'll put the front back on it. I'll show it to you guys. You can see what the final product looks like. So, and to Marty, hey, thanks for that contribution. And your previous ones, Marty and Thomas back at Stowe, and Michael Powell, and there's a bunch of folks in there. Fly Guy 23, Joseph Hawkins, Rick Lakes. Thanks you guys so much. We're going to take off. Thanks for watching. We'll see you all again very, very soon. And until then, what do I say?
Bye for now.
Bye for now.